Welcome to the Appalachian Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Billy Riddle. With me, as always, my co-host, Jeff Taylor. Bodine, once again.
Bodine! Baddest.
Still got to give me that shirt.
What shirt? The Bodine shirt? Damn it, Bodine.
What Dillner said, yeah.
Damn it, Bodine's in the house. Yeah, Matt Dillner did say something about a damn it, Bodine shirt, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Man, it's good to be back. How about that?
Alrighty. Back with us once again is the Crumb Snatcher, Dean Motley. Welcome.
Back one more time.
In this hot-ass cabin. It's been a cluster of an afternoon trying to get this stuff together. At least the food was good. Speaking of which, before we get to our guests, today's episode is going to be brought to you by Buddy's Barbecue, 480 10-Yard Road in Rocky Mount, right next to the high school. If you listen to this, you probably know what we're talking about. And if you hadn't, these boys right here will tell you when we bring them on here, the food's good. If you're coming into town this weekend for the car store, swing by, grab some supper, head your way up there.
And it's got air conditioning, unlike this place.
Yeah.
They have all your favorite cuts. You know, they're going to have your ribs, your brisket, but their wings are award-winning. I love them. Chicken sandwich is fire. I usually can't find anything better
Brisket
than there.
nachos is my go-to.
Yeah, they're having a big event.
I'm already hungry.
Let's
Go get a second dinner.
Yes, his brisket nachos are fire.
They're having a big event up there Friday night.
Are they?
At Buddy's, yeah.
What?
I think it's for something for the high school, Booster Club or something.
Oh, man.
They're having all kinds of different stuff.
I didn't
at
know
Buddy's.
that.
Yeah, big event at Buddy's Friday night.
Well, so speaking of which, we talked about this a little earlier. The car store is coming to Franklin County Speedway this weekend. So we kind of held off on releasing a show on Monday like we normally do. We want to come in here, do a show tonight, and get people a little bit excited about what's happening. So today we are joined by some of Barry Nelson's crew members, drivers.
Squad.
Yeah, these are Barry's boys is how we're going. They're Barry's boys. And if you remember, we had him on the show not too long ago. So this weekend's a race. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start off and let them introduce themselves one at a time. And just tell us a little bit about you, kind of where you're from, and how in the hell you ever wound up working for Barry Nelson. So
I'm DJ. Grew up in Bath County, Virginia. Ended up after graduated high school, did a year and a half at Dabney, S. Lancaster near me, and then I moved to Martinsville and was part of the racing college and ended up getting a job with Barry while I was still in school and been here for 7 years now. So,
Bath County is beautiful.
It is, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
something else.
It's a whole lot different than where I'm at now.
Yeah, I mean it's two different worlds, but tell you what, it's a great place.
Both in a good way.
Back. Yeah, man. If I had that few money, I'd go buy me a big ass house somewhere up in Bath County, just so I didn't have to look or hear from any of y'all or anybody. I had my cell phone turned off. I just walk outside and I would try and do my best. John Dutton, you know, when he wakes up in the morning, kind of
It just pisses off his porch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have cell phone service anyway, so it doesn't matter if you turn it off or not.
It's crazy where you're at here. You got a full signal. It's like
I know, right?
It's like I went through Callaway, but there was nothing, and I get up in here and I get up here past nowhere, and I get a great cell phone signal.
Yeah, me and my wife live in Salem, and I have like one bar of service, and I get up here and I get full service. It's like, how does this work out?
How does that work, man?
It burns you up every single day.
Right.
Every day. And I'm a truck driver, and I'm saying, God, just Google Earth just pop up so I can look and see where I'm delivering to. And I'm like, right in the middle of Roanoke, why are you not working? And you come up here to, Chaos Mountain Brewery, and ain't nobody within 12 miles. And
Got a full signal.
yeah, hey, I could just pull this. It's mind-boggling. It's enough to irritate you.
They do it just for you.
Absolutely, yeah. I have no doubt whatsoever. All right, Jeff.
So my name is Jeff Cessna. I am from the Outer Banks, North Carolina.
Are you part of the Cessna airplane fortune?
Yes, in some way, but
Wow.
we're like the black sheep of the family, so
Okay.
I don't ever see any of the Cessna money.
Well,
It's still a cool name.
That's why I work. So I've been all over the place since living on the Outer Banks. Lived in Florida, went to school for a while, and then moved to Roanoke because I needed work, and my dad and basically all of his family's from there. Did some construction, then made my way to Martinsville to go to Patrick Henry for the racing college, and found my way working for Barry as well. That's been 2014 is when I started working for him, and kind of went on from there and learned a bunch. In 2019, made my way to Kyle Busch Motorsports, worked on the truck team for Todd Gilliland, and decided I didn't like the truck series as much, so I came back and working on late models again.
Well,
The guy that we had on the show that worked for the night we done Jesse Little show. What was the other guy's name? I wonder if he knows
Chris
him.
Bowen.
You know Chris?
Name doesn't sound familiar.
Because he done some stuff with Ty Gibbs and stuff. That's why I was just wondering.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Anyway,
There's so many people.
So, yeah. Well, you two gentlemen, so you've been with Barry for quite some time. And then our third guest right here with us, Kaden, Honeycutt, you were the driver with these two boys. So that's kind of we're here to, that's kind of an interesting thing, because that's kind of how it was with Jesse and them. You know, Jesse Little was 13 or 14 quarters. You're not quite that young, but then he had an older crew.
Right.
Y'all probably got some hellacious stories y'all get ready to start embarking on. I
geez.
know it's kind of a young season, but
Kaden is the hot shoe, as Barry calls it. Yeah,
Kaden
right?
told us we couldn't tell all the stories.
yeah, we gotta save them for the next time. I mean, you don't give everybody everything at once. You want them coming back for more.
That's right,
right.
yeah. We want you to invite us back again for all that food.
Absolutely, we can do. So, Kaden, welcome to Virginia. You came in here from Texas. How did you get involved in all these, Franklin County and Henry County and Appalachian people?
So I raced the Carster last year with Justin Johnson. It was my first time introduced to late model stock racing, and I instantly loved it more than I did pro and super late model racing. And ran a full season the Carster, and we got in contact with Barry after the championship race was over. And we already started planning on going and racing with him for this year, and we had it finalized going into the Snowball Derby last year in December. So we've had this going for quite a long time, and man, I enjoy late model stock racing more than any other racing I've been a part of so far.
Yeah, we had Barry on here. I mean, he was talking you up quite a bit. I can't remember the whole full context of it.
I don't even think Barry at the time even said his name. He couldn't talk about who it was.
I think
at the
that
time.
was the case.
Yeah, he couldn't talk about who it was. He just talked and described and how much he was looking forward to it.
So you come in here from Texas every single week to race.
Yeah, so I do every other week, fly in and out, and then whenever I'm not racing with these guys and the asphalt stuff, I run my own dirt late model program, and I just do that with me and my dad, and I race every Friday and Saturdays that I can that I'm not here.
Well, let's talk about Bodie, we were talking about this the other day about Texas.
And it's not and this is no way a hit against Texas. It's unique because of the racing culture is different in Texas, and I think, and Lost Speedway is actually what turned me on to it, because I watched it, and they talked about how asphalt racing is almost extinct in Texas.
It is.
And I don't quite understand it.
Well, so when I started racing in asphalt, I raced in a Houston Motorsports Park. I went to Central Texas Speedway in Kyle. That place got bulldozed. My dad raced at San Antonio Speedway, and that was probably the last Speedway
was.
episode
San
that I
Antonio was
watched.
one.
Yep. And he raced there all his life. And just mostly the asphalt war kind of died because, one, people weren't really interested in it, and it was so far away from the East Coast of the actual racing community. You either go on the far side of the West Coast or you go to the East Coast. There's nothing really in the middle. And when everybody wanted to be a part of dirt, it kind of just killed the asphalt series. And we didn't really have good promoters to do a good job of getting classes, money, and all that sorts of stuff. So Houston Motorsports Park actually is the last asphalt track alive in the state of Texas. And it's actually the nicest facility I've ever gone to. And I put that over Dominion Raceway, and Dominion's freaking nice. And Houston Motorsports Park it's hanging on by its last thread too, so it's not long before that place goes through.
And really, dirt racing is a Midwest. I mean, it's really big in the big Midwest, and that's why it probably caught on. Versus East, I mean, dirt racing's big on the East Coast too, but it's got just as good a roots in the West, unlike asphalt racing, which is centralized around the greater Charlotte area. We're still on the outskirts of that.
Yeah, I would tell you that within a 2-hour radius from my house, there's 10 racetracks I go to for dirt. That's how many there is, that people can literally go 30 minutes to a racetrack and go run on Saturday, be done at midnight and go home, and not even show up until 7 o'clock the next day. So it's just one of the the things that people like. They don't want to show up at 7 o'clock in the morning and then leave at 12 o'clock at night. And that's what the asphalt guys in Texas didn't like anymore. So that's kind of why it died too.
And also there was that point in time where, asphalt was where the money was. It paid for you to race a whole lot better. That's where the sponsors, that's where the drivers and teams went to. And dirt racing is hard to make to even offset any. I mean, obviously most racers go in the whole racing every week, truthfully, regardless of whether they're running asphalt or dirt. But it's less, it seems like, an asphalt, at least on the East Coast.
Yeah. So what I've learned on the dirt side, actually, for the dirt late model teams for Lucas, is they actually have a man that's an owner. I would say if you take Mark Richards as an example, he owns Brandon Shepard's team. Brandon Shepard's got 8 race cars in his shop, and he don't have to worry about nothing. He races 73 nights a year, and he gets paid, and he wins over. Last year, his earnings was over $500,000 by itself. So, for the late model stuff, you got to find a guy that's got a lot of money, build a race team, and just work something out. And that's how most of those guys make their money, too.
And that would be like Mark Richards, Scott Bloomquist, Barry Wright has a house team as well. They did. And Barry Wright was out of North Carolina. I think Mark Richards was up in Indiana or somewhere, wasn't he?
West Virginia.
Is it West Virginia?
Shenton, West Virginia.
Okay. And their house teams are hard to beat.
Yeah. Longhorn, too.
I like watching. I'm a Bloomquist fan. I mean, I ain't watched a lot of his stuff lately, but that dude's a trip. Seeing his wilder years on TikTok and how he's alive, he's kind of like John Force in a lot of ways. I do not understand how Scott Bloomquist is alive. The amount of drugs the man's done and been able to live and drive a race car and still breathe, I just don't understand.
Best personality on the broadcast.
That's usually how it works out.
What's that?
When you combine them, that's usually how it works out.
Yeah, I mean, God, there was a TikTok of him doing cocaine in the bathroom right before a race or something. I'm like, good God. That dude's ready to race.
Lap the field.
And then go out and lap the field.
Yeah, he embarrasses the field.
And cross-eyed, he can't even look straight because he's so messed up. Literally, it's insane to watch that man race.
Which it's so crazy to hear y'all talk about Texas, and we've had a discussion before, but just think about the sheer logistics. I mean, there's how many people? Like Houston's the biggest TV market in the country. There's like 10 million people there. You probably got 5 or 6.
Dallas too.
In Dallas, you probably got 1 million. In Austin and San Antonio, you can go anywhere and have 1 million people and find at least 10,000 people that like the craziest thing you've ever thought about in your entire life. You can never like people who like who like. God, I can't think of an example.
Buc-ee's gas stations. That is a great example. It makes no damn sense that a gas station can be as popular than it is. But in Texas, it's like 10 times bigger, 10 times cleaner.
Yeah, so not to have any asphalt racing. I mean, that's just, if you've ever been to Texas, you can put it in perspective how big that place is and how many people are there. And not to have like just a niche here or there and just outside of one of those metropolises. Just have a little asphalt race. I mean, it's kind of insane. It's a wonder. I mean, it's one of the greatest questions of our generation.
For the record, there's one opening in Florence, South Carolina.
It opened yesterday.
Yeah. Did it?
Yeah. And there's more opening every day.
I'm ready to go. We talked about going to, but I was going to take a vacation day just to go down there for the opening and get a brisket sandwich.
Yeah.
Gotta have
they actually have decent brisket.
Gotta have the
for
beaver
a gas
nuggets,
station.
man.
The beaver nuggets and a brisket sandwich. That's what I was going to get.
Beaver nuggets is where it's
My dad
though.
he'll buy 4 packs of beaver nuggets.
What are they like even? I don't even.
You need to start bringing them when you come in.
Yeah,
That's going to be one of your requirements before you show up to the shop. Like, gotta throw the beaver nuggets in the
Yeah,
door before we let you in.
get a daggone cavity search from the TSA. Like, what is this? I mean, seriously, it's just
Why do you have a case of beaver nuggets?
Race team won't let me show up until I drop off the supply.
Don't question me, just let me through.
Would you like a bag?
I used to see the Buc-ee's. I was an over-the-road truck driver. I used to drive through Texas, and I'd see them. I stopped at one a couple of times, but, I mean, you want to talk about massive truck stops, or massive fuel stations. There's probably like 60 or 70 different fueling aisles just for the cars.
Yeah.
It's like a Sam's Club / Walmart Supercenter of convenience stores.
One of them's got a car wash in Texas that takes 10 minutes to get through. I think it was 11 minutes it takes to get through the car wash.
I don't know how I haven't seen that one.
Really? I think there's only one.
I've been to the one that's next to the racetrack. And, and plenty of them like Madisonville and a bunch of other places, but I have not seen that.
It takes forever. I remember seeing it was on a news feature, and like it was the longest damn car wash I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, how many times can you wash the freaking car? It ain't gonna be no paint left on the bastard.
It better be spotless and never have to wash it.
Yeah, I know,
Less than
right?
a year.
But everything in Texas is just unique. Like, where does this come from? And it catches on somehow. Like Billy says, it makes no sense. But yet, asphalt racing doesn't. And considering the market of it, like you say,
the market.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you have Texas Motor Speedway,
You know, and I also think, and I think you hit on something because of the promoters are slow to adapt to modern times, and we're seeing it on the East Coast. And Flow Racing is a prime example of that. The racetracks have been so reluctant to adapt to online streaming to be able to get their revenue up. It's certainly possible that Texas was slow to adapt to that, and it may be too late in that market because Flow Racing, Speed TV, and all of them are making these tracks a fortune. And that's it. That's probably one of the things that hurts them.
Yeah, to Bill's point about the marketing of Houston and Dallas my point was about the promoter side of doing a bad job of figuring out how to work. That's what made the Legends Car program die in Texas as well. They had little TMS outside the racetrack, and they had to shut it down because they can't get people from the go-kart world. And you can go out and find a whole bunch of go-kart people out in Dallas, but nobody was the person to introduce them to Bandolero and Legends Car Racing and bring them to Texas and keep the program alive. And that's what's the most craziest things. And also from the sponsorship side is I have the biggest advantage out of probably anybody in the Carsville late model stock field for sponsorship. And it is the hardest thing to work with. And I don't know how all that works, but it's just been a bad thing overall. Unless you're dirt racing, you can take asphalt and just race the TMS racetrack on NASCAR, and that's all it's good for.
But it's the opposite. Like, isn't high school football hugely popular in Texas?
what do you mean, isn't it? Come on.
I mean,
man.
like
There's
mega.
like 100
It is
movies out
unbelievable.
I mean,
there.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
my
what I'm
wife
saying.
complains
Yeah,
every time I watch
Varsity
it.
Blues, come
But
on,
I mean,
man.
still.
Yeah.
Oh, you hit it
I
right
took-
there,
You
Varsity Blues, man.
Well, yeah, Varsity Blues was my favorite of all time. But I mean, but you can't get racing. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah, so I actually went to Aledo High School, and they won 7 straight state championships by over 30 points in the 5A division. It is
I
just,
didn't even know there was 5As.
yeah, there's like
Everything's
There's
bigger in
6A,
Texas.
Right.
Well, I mean,
5A, 4A, 3A, 2A. I mean, it is the whole entire division system, and people eat, sleep, and crap football around in my area.
They've got small towns in Texas. They've got schools that don't even have enough people to field a football team.
Oh, that's one
they
of
do like
ours,
7-on-7.
Yeah.
And them boys out there at the 7-on-7 would probably come here to Virginia and beat any 11 players. I mean, all those guys look like the guys who play them in the movies. You know, like
Right.
24
Yeah.
and ripped. Oh, I'm like, these are high school kids. Jesus.
Yeah,
That's mind-boggling.
it's such a weird contrast, is what I was thinking. And everything in Texas just seems so different, like another world.
So, you talked about the promoting of racetracks, and I wonder if NASCAR was kind of trying to do that with running the All-Star race at Texas Motor Speedway.
I honestly, maybe, in my opinion, it was a way to free up a date for another market. The All-Star race, this is my opinion, I don't know. In my opinion, the All-Star race in Charlotte had become stagnant from a viewership standpoint. And so had the racing market in Texas. Speedway races weren't the greatest mile and a half. So they've become stagnant in the last 15 years anyways. And I think there was a trade-off. If you give up your one date, we'll give you the All-Star race taken away from Charlotte, and let's put a new track in place of it. And I need Julian here to tell me what track took the place of it, essentially. But I believe that's the direction it went. I think Marcus Smith is that damn smart.
Right.
I really do. I think he gets it, and he needs to be the one running NASCAR, in my opinion. But I think he gets it, and he's willing to bend and move and shift it around. I mean, hell, they just paved Kentucky. and it's closed up, and they're sitting there with Ford trucks and SUVs sitting there waiting on chips and shit.
Yeah.
I think that he's able to see it, move it, and I think every year it's going to change. That schedule's going to change up. I heard yesterday Chicago's getting ready to. There's a good chance Chicagoland is going to get a date back next year.
Really?
But I don't know which series. So I believe it's just that market's moving around, and I just don't think Texas is that huge of a popular racetrack.
Right.
I'm not sure really how the All-Star race is going to be there again this year.
I have mixed feelings on it.
I do too.
I don't know.
But it's crazy how you touched on it with the Flow Racing deal. I was talking to a friend the other day, and it's unreal that you can, any night of the week, you can log on to Flow and you can watch a race somewhere in the country.
Somewhere.
They're just working that market so well right now, and it's just unreal, and it's crazy. You might watch Super Late Models one night, you might watch Street Stocks one night, you might lawnmower racing. You never know.
You never know what's going to be on there.
I mean, and it's just like going to Eldora for $1 million. It's like they're working it really hard right now, and
they may race on a Wednesday night for $1 million. You just never friggin' know in the summer. You don't know what they're going to throw out there.
Right.
And the promoters are able to capture that. It's so different. And now, Flow Racing is able to provide an influx of cash to do that.
Right. Absolutely.
And the owners and promoters didn't have before, and now they do.
Right, and it's just crazy. Like, me and my wife and my dad are going to go to Eldora for the $1 million. So we're going Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Tickets for the for the three of us, were $600 and $700 for a hotel room. So $1,300 for all of that. And me and my wife would go to a cup race, and spend $500 or $600 in a single day.
Yeah.
By the time you buy a hotel room and get tickets, and
Yeah.
So, have you ever been to Eldora?
been 3 times.
I've
now,
never
yeah.
been. How close are the hotel? I mean, how is it set up? Is there
There's
anything
nothing
near the
close.
Speedway?
So we got really lucky, actually. There's a new hotel that just opened like a year ago, 2 years ago. During COVID, it actually opened, and it's 6 minutes from the racetrack is what the woman told me. And we got on a wait list, and she called me last week, and she's like, hey, you got a room? I was like, perfect. So if not, we're going to be an hour away.
That's what I was thinking. It was kind of like Talladega in the middle of friggin' nowhere.
Yeah.
Right, it is. But the racetrack, unreal. Like, where else are you going to go and have a tiki bar at the racetrack?
Well, see, that's what was going through my mind, and I was kind of comparing it in my brain to Talladega just because I've seen the general. Like, Talladega is the only place I've ever seen where I went to, and the strip clubs in Mobile packed up and moved to the racetrack.
They're
That's
inside
not
the
an
racetrack.
exaggeration. The strip clubs pack up in Mobile, move to Talladega for Talladega weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a joke. I didn't believe it, and I seen the stages set up, and people just be passed out everywhere, all over the place. I'm like,
Dega is a different world.
it is. And I kind of get that to Eldora. Remember they used to do the Prelude to the Dream, the dirt late models, the cup drivers would go up there.
They need to have that again.
They do.
Yeah,
that was a
absolutely.
good show.
It was awesome.
The truck race, man, going to see it. I was working for a sports car team, and we went to Indy for the Super Weekend, and then we left, and like 8 of us got in a van, and we're like running 80 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour through some cornfields to get over there in time to make it. And you see the truck race over there, and you're like, man, this doesn't do this place justice. But like Kaden said, man, if they would bring back the Prelude, like that was
Leave
one
out
of the-
Larson though, because that would be a bloodbath.
Right. I mean,
He just spoils it.
Yeah.
Or either put him and make him start last with the engine beside the car. And
5
then-
seconds behind.
Yeah, you
looked
got
like you last week.
Yeah.
Almost laughing the whole field, I mean,
Which the truck race at Eldora has always been pretty good. I don't think the cup cars are worth a damn on dirt, but
No.
the trucks. I remember Kyle Larson run one of the truck races up there. Kyle Larson, he didn't win it, but he beat the entire side off the truck. I think it was
Right.
the second or
It's when
third.
he ran a 32.
Yeah, and he finished second. It wasn't nothing left of the truck.
No.
so
He
the,
hit the wall every lap.
Of course.
and that race is good, no
How's it
doubt.
turn?
Don't get me wrong, but if you would ever go for a late model race
Oh, yeah.
there, it is it's hard to believe just
I've watched
how
it.
good the racing is.
I've watched the Dream on just streaming and stuff, but
You watch it this year, and I might wave at you. I'm sitting at turn one. Just look. Depends on how late it is into the night.
because they would run in on a Wednesday night. The Prelude would be on a Wednesday, and then the Dream would be that weekend.
Yeah.
That was a good show. It is fun to see the Cup drivers out of their shell and get to have a little fun. But yeah,
Hey, Jeff, did you and Mike throw any dollar bills at the strippers at Talladega?
well,
Can't talk about it.
can't talk about that. We were shell shocked. I was shell shocked when I was at Talladega. I had no earthly idea what I was seeing, but
you know good and damn well he threw money at him. He probably put one of them through college.
Oh man.
Well, at least a semester.
But the infield's a landing strip. It's an old Air Force base. Mm-hmm. The place, I swear, it was built on an old Native American reservation, and I swear the place is haunted. It's just weird stuff that happens there.
You've probably seen a few landing strips, didn't you?
You probably did.
Why did I know that was coming as soon as I was...
Well, if you ever listened to one of our shows, you'd probably figure it out. But if you hadn't, it's because you sit in here and talked to about 15 minutes and got it pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah. Now, but that weekend was strange because I got down there. We went to run a Nationwide car, well, Xfinity now, and Donnie Neuenberger brought his Xfinity car for us to run out of nowhere. But we get down there, and he's going to run the ARCA race. I didn't know what the hell I was getting into. ARCA at Talladega. Everybody's like, this is going to be ugly. And, you know, Donnie Neuenberger's driving his car. This is not going to be pretty. He ran 5 laps. We did 1 pit stop and absolutely demolished the car. We had to put it on casters to get it in the damn hauler.
Oh, yeah.
It was nothing left of it. The headers were smashed, collapsed. He hit so hard. I don't know why he thought going through the grass to miss a wreck at 180 was smart because he drove right to it and destroyed his race car.
That's the one you were talking about in the last show that said he's probably started 300 races and never finished one.
He never finished a damn one. He raced for Jimmy years ago, and he at Dover. He run at Dover, and there's video. Donnie Neuenberger at Dover goes airborne and jumps over 2 cars to get to the damn wreck. I have no idea how that man. He was a wild dude.
One word, ARCA.
ARCA. They called the name for it in the pits was the Sawzall 300. And all you seen, and I'll never forget it because when the garage was a separate area from the Nationwide garage. I mean, he paid for a license and everything for the weekend. It was pretty cool. But I remember the garage, all it was parts laying around everywhere that the teams left. It was oil stains everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It was just fluids, parts, pieces, chunks of metal everywhere. I'm like, they come in and they would just cut the shit off of it and they go back out there, run a lap, wreck again, come back. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
The ARCA race at Daytona is the Medevac 250.
Yeah, because somebody's getting hauled out of there on a stretcher.
Every time I hear an ARCA story, it makes me think about when we were sports car racing. We went to Watkins Glen, and we used to have to share a pit with. We ran in the GS class, and like the ST class had to pit with us, and they only had like 3 guys that worked for them, so they had so they borrowed us to help them pit. And I'll never forget it. This dude come in, the car was beat all to pieces, and Watkins Glen, the pit road is like, it's got a bunch of angle to it, and it just starts like just from flat to angle. And we're like right on the cusp of that. So we're there, and the dude comes in, they're going to do a driver change. So he comes in, and man, he hops out the car, and he's hot. Well, the car takes off rolling. He said, you know what, screw it. The car just takes off and just rolls down and just crashes the wall. We just turned around and walked off. We're like, yeah, we're not helping with this one.
I'm surprised that the next driver just didn't go right down there and crawl in it and drive off it back out on the track.
Yeah.
You get in those series, it's like, dear God, there's no, they just don't care. Mm-hmm. And ARCA's that series. Mm-hmm.
Oh. Julian's gonna hate he missed this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he would have loved this because we've had these talks before. With you guys being in the Cars Tour, ARCA's got the Flash and they've got the NASCAR backing, but from everybody I've come across here in the past couple years, Cars Tour's got the talent. Mm-hmm. ARCA.
Oh yeah.
By far, they said if you the stepping stone is Cars Tour, not ARCA right now.
It is, and ARCA's almost like where you get all the wrecks out of your system. And what was that guy? Who was
for a lot of money?
Yeah, for a lot of money. Who was the guy that wrecked Drew
Dollar and
Drew Dollar?
Corey Haim this weekend.
Yeah,
Billy's interview cannot be topped this year for an ARCA series.
That was the best interview I've ever heard.
Put it in the context. Y'all what are y'all talking about? Because I've seen some stuff on Twitter this week.
This was just this past week.
I saw Drew Dollar on Twitter, and there's a bunch of people going back and forth about something. Nobody was happy with
Billy Venturini.
Yes, that's what it was.
Billy Venturini, Drew Dollar raced for him, and he wrecked everything they had.
That's literally that was the sentiment I was getting off of Twitter. So.
And now who was he racing for now?
He's racing for Gibbs.
He's racing for Gibbs.
He basically filled in for Ty Spot.
and now he's hitting everything in a fancy car. He's got a fast ride and tearing up everything, which Venturini ain't no
should
slow
win.
ride.
Should win every race.
He should win every race, but he can't. It won't stay in one piece. And he took out one of Venturini's cars. And I can't remember. He said he's a great kid, but he can't drive for shit, or something like. Yeah, he said he wrecks his shit.
Does not
off.
need to be a race car driver.
He
That's
does
what
not need to
said.
be a race car driver. He is a super nice guy, but he has no talent.
Now, is Arca West a little bit different ball game? Because I watched one of their races a couple weeks ago. I think it was the same night that Paul Hall got the Jeep at Bowman Gray. I tuned into an Arca West race out in California, and I mean, it wasn't very competitive, but there weren't people tearing everything up. I mean,
I don't know about Arca West.
Just a whole different.
They may
Y'all
take it
even
a
pay
little more
attention to that.
serious. They may take it a little more serious out there. I really can't tell you. I wonder if that'd be the old Winston West series. I wonder if it would be kind of what took the place of that. Need Chris Williams here to answer that.
I guess that's what old Jack Wood was in, wasn't he? The old Arca West or whatever.
That's exactly what he said.
So, and really, the Cars tours took the place of, in my opinion, of what was K&N. And that's why the quality's there, in my opinion. The quality teams, the quality drivers, and quality equipment, and they're serious about racing versus ARCA, which is, I think ARCA technically may be the next step up because they race at bigger tracks, but I swear they just go there to wreck. It's like, get it out of your system before you come to a truck.
So,
But that wasn't always the case, though.
No, it wasn't.
Arca used to be the next stepping stone.
2015 through 2019.
Yeah.
They had pit stops where you had your experience, get approved, and you'd be able to go on.
Yeah,
and move on
so
to the next
with
level.
ARCA, you can run Daytona and the mile and a halves and everything. The biggest thing is you get TV time, too.
Yeah.
Other than that,
It's
there's
just
not much going on.
It's not much racing there. It isn't. It's just a lot of wrecking.
You have 2 or 3 teams that are good enough to win. And then
Venturini and
Gibbs and DGR.
Yeah.
They're about the only ones.
And they have all the cars.
Yeah.
Literally, all the cars.
And then you got Bill McAnally when those guys come and race with the others.
We'll never have the combined East and West series, like when they go to Iowa and Gateway and stuff like that. But I think Archer is its own series.
It is.
It's its
It
own
is.
series in its own ways.
It is, and that's the thing of it. It may not be affiliated in the same way, but I think that's where the money goes to, and that's where the practical uses come from, because we see this short track revolution that's happening, and it's a waste of time putting guys at Charlotte and Daytona and Talladega when there's a short track revolution going on across the East Coast, and that's where the money's going to.
Well, I mean, not even just the money, but you can see where the talent is.
It's 10 times harder to win a car series, dude, than it is to run a NASCAR weekly series.
I mean, we've not run the greatest this year, but it's not to say that our stuff isn't still good.
Yeah, no, y'all have great equipment.
Yeah,
I mean, it don't mean
we're just that 1/10 of a second off, or half a tenth maybe, and we're running 5th to 10th compared to last year when we were just a half a tenth better and running 1st to 5th.
And when you're a half a tenth off against the competition, it stands out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, and competition breeds competition.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, because
It's crazy.
we seen Bobby at Ace. What was it, October? I mean, you
Killed him.
remember them? Nobody couldn't touch
Rodney
him.
Cook
Rodney
Classic.
couldn't
Yeah.
anything down there.
I mean, it was
It
probably the
wasn't
most boring late model race I've ever seen in my entire life.
We thought it was a good race, though.
Oh, of course,
yeah.
And let me tell you, we were waiting to race last week because it was probably about to happen again.
Yeah,
But with 2 cars instead of 1.
He passed everything. Nobody even got close to him. It wouldn't even close. The only time they seen him was when it was under caution.
Yeah, I mean, caution. Somebody might have. I think maybe they might not have led 5-10 laps.
that 88 car got up there
was
one
only
time.
one.
It only 3, and Rumley roughed him up, and then he got him right back, and he left him
Yeah,
in the dust.
yeah. That one car got up there on one restart, and that was it. I was like, man, he might have something. Nope.
He had to drive 3 feet under the rear bumper.
Yeah. Bobby was probably taking a drink of water with one hand on the wheel, and that guy got here and said, "Oh shit, let me go."
Well, I mean, when you're talking about the Cars Tour, we would certainly be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that Junior Motorsports is a big part, and also y'all's probably biggest competitor down there. I mean, y'all go, Barry made it abundantly clear that he was, quite pleased that being able to take a few championships away from, essentially the most popular name in all of motorsports on the East Coast,
Right.
at least. So
I think it's impressive to line up against Josh Berry. And Josh Berry's one of my favorite stories. I mean, I don't know how he is a nice guy personally. Don't really know nothing about him. But I have a hard time not pulling for him because of the opportunity he got. I'm like, they're like, It's hard for me not to pull for him just because of the opportunity and how finally he got a chance. But
I want all of y'all to tell him why he is so wrong, is what I want you to do.
But it's not because he represents what short track racing is. He's come from a short track background with his family, not being able to afford to race and having to work, and then gets an opportunity with Junior Motorsports to race in the late models.
yeah,
And does that for many years, and then finally gets a chance in the Xfinity car, and you see him go to Martinsville and win, and it's kind of case closed. I think, but for him to go out and win in Xfinity really shows what the competition in short track racing, especially on the East Coast, because late model stocks are probably the closest chassis wise to what those cars are. And I just feel like that competition breeds the best competition for the NASCAR ranks.
yeah. And I don't know how he is personally. I don't know the guy.
I don't really know. I'm not fond of him because of some stuff, but
No, I mean that's fair. That's racing.
Yeah, your competition. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
racing, man. You don't. I mean,
But I definitely
You
commend
can
him
respect
for, I
somebody,
respect him
and at the
a
same
ton
time be
for,
like, the hell
for what he's
You
done.
have to
for the
respect
sport.
what he's done. I mean, no doubt he was given an opportunity and he made the most of it, and he deserves to be where he's at. And I think he showed that there's a lot more guys in the Cars Tour and the Run Late Model Stock Weekly Series stuff that have the talent to be where he's at. That should give these guys a run for their money on a weekly basis.
yeah. And even him, he's even running Xfinity, and he goes back down to the car store, and it ain't like a walk in the park to him too. I mean, because there's competition down there, and it's heavy.
Right.
I definitely say it's the most competition he's got.
Absolutely. I say it's definitely more competition in the car store than even he's getting on the Xfinity series as a field as a whole.
Yeah.
I would say, because it's such a.
You think so?
I do. I think it's a narrower gap in the Xfinity series. You've got the Gibbs cars and Junior Motorsports. The Gibbs cars are lights out every week. It don't matter what they do. And Junior Motorsports is pretty close to that. And then the rest are just out there.
Well, you got the calling guys too. So.
Yeah.
I forget about calling. I sorry.
sure.
But again, just
You're
like
talking about 10
ARCA,
cars.
Yeah, that's the three main teams right now.
It's 10 cars in Xfinity, and then there's just everybody else.
Right.
And the competition, it's almost like, yeah, he's guaranteed a top 10 or 15 in Xfinity. But when he beats those teams, it's something. But you go back to the car store, it's 40 teams every week's going to show up to kick his ass.
Right.
Big difference. Or what, I don't know what y'all's car count is, but I mean, just.
Yeah, but the car count, look, this weekend's looking pretty good.
27, yeah.
But it's like Jeff touched on earlier, a half a tenth. And I can't quote what Kaden had to say after qualifying, but I know at Goodyear, Bobby was like, man, I had to lift, and he was like 600ths off of the. If he'd have been 600ths faster, he'd have qualified fourth, and we qualified like 12th.
That's tight.
And I mean, they were right there tit for tat where they ended up at, but it's that close.
Yeah, Franklin back in 2020, 18th was a full tenth and a half off.
Yeah.
Everybody else, 1 through 10, was in the same 10th bracket.
Yeah.
And the 13 7s, that was 1 through 10.
And that's like
10 through 15 was in the 78s and 9s, and then it went off into the 8s. And you're going to see the same thing again on Saturday.
So here's my question. Do you know where you're losing the 10th and just can't figure out how to fix it? Or is it...
Usually you do. We've had plenty of times this year where we were like, yep, that's it, where we lost that. We don't even have to look at data or anything. I know I lost it right here in this part of the corner. And, every week that we've gone to, like Caraway we had an awesome race car at Caraway, and just a misfortunate strategy that bit us. And then the next couple of races we struggled a little bit. but it wasn't from like we were literally terrible. It's just like we were off that little bit of actual speed. It wasn't the car that handled bad. It's just the speed that we didn't have those past couple weeks. And then we go to Ace, and unfortunately got rained out, but we kind of found our footing again, and I feel like that's really helped us. And we just tested at Franklin County today, and we feel really solid about our car. So I feel like we've made our steps in the right direction. So it's just a part of, the whole, everybody's going to hit it and everybody's going to miss it. If you look at last year, the Carsters, the amount of races that R&S won was more than 85% of the races. This year, a Hedgecock, a PRW, and R&S have R&S has only won 2, Hedgecock has won 2, and PRW has won 1. So it's been a mix, and you're going to hit it, and sometimes you're going to miss it as a whole chassis, and sometimes as people find different things to get better.
I mean, the fine tuning is so, it's so close that it just does not take much to be a little bit off or really good.
And what are they? I mean, is it they're still in a soft spring in the front and big springs in the rear? Is that the kind of the setup, the attitude of the car, sort of thing?
I wish we could tell you.
Well, I mean,
good question.
Good question. I mean, it's from a traditional standpoint. Back in the day, we run the big springs in the front, soft in the rear. I mean, that was the traditionalist way of thinking, and now they've just...
Then at least he ain't talking about the next-gen transmission or something.
We ain't doing all that. So
well, there's a lot of different things. They got big spring cars. I can tell you Looney runs a big spring car. There's people that still run the old-style cars. People have gone to the bump stop, sticks on the front. There's just a lot of different things that people have tried. And some old stuff still works.
Depending on the track.
I
hate bump stops. I hate bump stops. Hate them. But they are what they are. They're there.
Well, and you got no ride height rule, and that
drives me nuts.
Things,
that drives me nuts.
So,
but,
I mean...
in my opinion, I think if they add that back to NASCAR, it could really help that.
It will
a lot.
Getting the ride height back in the top series will help. But
with the next gen car, I don't think you're going to.
Yeah, I did talk to Gail about it last week. We were talking about our dirt late model, and I was asking his opinion on what he thinks that they should do to find better racing. What the heck they should do to find some sort of advantage and disadvantage to people. And he said that it would not be a bad idea to run new compounds. So how like F1's got the medium, they got the soft and hard tires.
That'd be interesting.
If you remember back in 2016, the All-Star race, they had a green soft tire and the regular Goodyear hard tire, and they were mixing that stuff up, and it actually created some interesting racing, and I don't think they've ever done it since. But he thinks that the ride height rule needs to go back into play.
It does, and, especially on short tracks. I think I can get away with it like the intermediate this track. It was a great race at Kansas.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was a great race.
It was probably the best intermediate race they've had in years.
The strangest race they've had this year was Martinsville.
Yeah.
Martinsville absolutely sucked.
But I loved it.
For no reason.
I loved it because of the strategy. I was the oddball. But,
right.
You're talking to a guy that'll watch 500 miles at Pocono and be on the edge of his seat back in the day just because of how all the strategy played out. But,
yeah.
So was today the first time you'd made any laps up here?
It was, and I showed up to the place, and I've seen many places like it. Honestly, I'd race here much more than I'd rather race at Hickory, but it's very deceiving. The asphalt looks like it's worn out. We go to Florence, South Carolina, it looks the exact same. And then you go over here, I look at the race monitor, they fall off maybe 5/10 on 125 laps. I'm just like, okay, so I'm just not going to left up one lap.
That's the weeds growing up through it that helps keep the speeds consistent. It helps.
If
It
you
helps
go all the way towards the wall, there's a whole bunch of grass and a bunch of crap.
It helps the
all
car
over.
turn as the tires wear off.
Yeah, but no, I liked it a lot. I think it's going to be hard for me. I haven't raced on it, so I won't know how to generate or pass like right away. I'll just have to look. I've looked at film the last couple of days, but it should be fun. I feel like I said, I feel like we had a really good race car today. So
I hope you don't know the answer to this question. Do you know when that track was the last time it was paved?
No idea.
It's never been paved since it's original. That's
Really?
the original asphalt from 1969.
Except for that big concrete patch in 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's like I said. Like when you go to Florence and you go to these other tracks that are older
Yeah.
and worn out, it looks literally the exact same. And then all of a sudden you go on the racetrack and it's gripped up 100%.
South Carolina weathers in Florence probably
Yeah.
has a lot to do with that.
And I
All
personally
South
love
Carolina
Florence.
racetracks are the same.
Yeah.
Myrtle
And
Beach was,
God, what a
sandpaper.
racetrack. Yeah.
Miss it.
The only way you can relive it now is on iRacing. That's it. It's gone.
Well, I'm sure Jeff will be excited because it's going to be 90 degrees up here Saturday, and that's all I ever hear is hotter the better.
Hotter the better for racing. I'm a firm believer in it. It's better racing when it's 160 degrees outside.
Yeah, like
Not for the mechanic.
Not for the mechanics. No.
No, we were just talking about a Hampton Heat that wasn't that fun.
I just think cold tires and cold surfaces just don't produce great racing, and I think it increases the frustrations and urgency in the driver's mind too. And that's just where you get the good beating about. Because the fact of the matter, we're still there to put on a show. That's what sells the tickets.
Right.
And hate Bowman Gray for what people will for what happened to Paul. I get it. That's the reason they don't run transponders, because they can screw you if they want to. If they decide to screw you, they can say, no, you're 5 laps down. I ain't nobody passed me the whole night. And 5 laps down. That's why they don't run transponders. It's all about the show.
Yeah.
However they can make it. And I think that the hot slick, the driver's getting frustrated and sweaty, and I just think it makes for better racing.
Well, and they can bring 10 to 15 to 20,000 people every week.
Yeah.
It shows that it's not about the racing.
It's not about
It's about the show.
It is truly about the show.
you're racing on a dang football field.
Yeah.
Who else in the country has that going on?
Callaway had it. Whitey Taylor, the promoter, we actually had it in Roanoke, just down the road.
Oh, Victory Stadium.
Victory
If anybody
Stadium
knows.
raced
Stadium,
it.
yeah.
That did.
Victory
That-
I
Stadium.
remember that. I was young, but I remember that.
Yep, Whitey Taylor would take the late models up there. The guy that owns Callaway now would somehow get it together, and they would go up there and race around the football field there.
Unfortunately, I never made it to one of those races.
I went to one.
I wish in hindsight I would have.
As far as width, though, if I'm not mistaken, Victory Stadium was narrower than Bowman Gray.
Or had to have been. It was like 1.5 lanes.
Yeah.
We played football
There
there.
wasn't no room to pass. You literally had to wreck them to pass them. And yeah, it's its own world down there, and I talk about it every time. But it's the show. That's what you want. That's what you go for.
It's crazy. I can ask my wife on an off weekend, do you want to go to a race somewhere? And she'll be like, no. You want to go to Bowman Gray? Yeah. She can't tell you who wins, but she can tell you about the people fighting in the row over from us, though.
Yep.
Yeah. It literally the first time I was there, I counted the fights and watched fights in the grandstand, watched fights in the middle of the football field.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd never see what. And I won't wear any colors. I won't represent any team because here I am. And,
You'll get something thrown at you before
Yeah,
the
you'll
night's
get
over.
something
Pretty
thrown
much
at you.
Here
guaranteed.
comes the beer cans.
Madhouse, man.
and I tell them all, I was like, anybody that goes there, I'm like, just be prepared to get in a fight. I said it's not guaranteed, but there's a damn good chance you're going to get in a fight.
Well, that's
there.
what we're talking about now that Paul Hall's racing down there on a weekly basis. I guess I've got Tim Beard in the pool that I think he'll be the first one to get into a fist fight down there at some point.
Give him time. Yeah, give him
It'll
time.
happen eventually.
It's gonna happen. Everybody there, if you're a regular there, you've been in a fight in the stands. It's just part of the deal. You've whether you've been restrained or took down or whatever. It's been.
So what's your story on the fight you were in?
I was fortunate I didn't get in the middle of it. It was right next to me though, and then one over. Like you see the parting of the seas, and all the people are people are running around, and you see hair pulling because the women are just as they're in it. The women are the ones fighting over there in the
They're
stands.
the ones that start it.
Yeah, it's usually the women in the stands, the men in the pits.
And their fans, they're fierce too.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know a lot about Bowman Gray, right? So we had Chris Williams on the podcast back in the summertime, and they were talking about it was Burt and who? Junior Miller?
Burt and
who was
Junior
it?
Miller, or Tim Brown is the one where they were using the race cars as weapons.
Yeah, basically you've probably seen the video. I mean, them two were just going at it. I mean, and I kind of was talking to Chris, and I guess some of the fans took it to where I was alluding to that it was staged or rigged, and I didn't mean it like that. I was like, well, you would think if somebody was using a car as a weapon, you'd get in there and stop it at some point in time. My point was they allow it to go on for the show.
Yes.
And man, we had people hitting me up on the webpage, being like, I ain't gonna listen to nobody who thinks what we do down there is fake and rigged. I'm like, no, man. I
and
didn't
I
mean
clarified
like
it. And I said, no. I said, what happens at Bowman Gray is organic. They just don't let it stop. And the guy responded by, yeah, the promoter just throws fertilizer on it. Yeah, that's exactly
see,
right.
I mean, I was ignorant to it. I didn't. I wasn't very familiar. I recently got back into racing when we kind of started doing the show. And I grew up on Callaway modifieds, late models. I loved it. And the NASCAR it's kind of like they shit in my mouth the past 15 years. I was like, I'm tired of it and done with it. But the short track resurgence is what got me excited and back in the midst of things. So with the whole Bowman Gray stuff, I started getting reintroduced to that and found out real quick they're fans. They don't want to hear that they think it's rigged or something like that. And,
right.
And even if you're just alluding to it, which I didn't, but
there's a girl that races the Sportsman down there, and Amber Lynn. She'll get right in the middle of it too.
And she's been winning too, hasn't she? Yeah.
She's won a couple. I think she won one or two last year. And if there's a fight, she'll be right in the middle of it.
What division? She
Sportsman
or something.
Okay.
They're late model.
And I've been wondering for a while. I don't really know what the difference between a late model and a Sportsman is. I mean, visually they're similar. I don't know how chassis wise they're different. So, but they run very similar to it.
Yeah.
And the way they're set up, virtually visually identical. But I'm sure you guys could spot differences, but I don't know.
It's crazy, just like you talking about that. I seen a TikTok the other day of her. I guess she got tore up in the first race and then starts on the pole in the second with like nothing on the front end, just a radiator hanging out, and just like walks away from the field. It's like, only there.
Only there. You get out front. I mean, you get out front, you can stay out front. I've been hearing you guys because I race some of my racing groups down there at Bowman Gray. The guy that runs one of my leagues is actually the pace car driver, and they're talking about the surface down there is where they repaved it is horrible. Like there's bumps in turn 1 and 2 where the cars are actually digging the surface up, and the drivers are like, and it's one lane. The drivers are begging for them to put PJ1 on the surface. And Gray, the promoter, he's like, no, we're not going to do it because they've got to warranty it. If we put the PJ1 down now, those modifieds are going to start ripping it up because if it's that weak and uncured, and they won't do it because they say that it's going to mess it up. Personally, I think it's BS. I think Gray Garrison wants it to be one lane because he wants the action. He wants the cars to move each other. They want to slam into each other. He wants that one lane racing, in my opinion. He may not say it and nobody will believe it, but that's where the action comes from. If it's two lanes side by side, you don't get no beating and banging and wrecking and nobody cheering and fighting in that case. That's just my personal perception of it all.
Well, and I mean, the fresh asphalt, it takes time for it to grip up. Yeah. So, like, I don't know if you remember when South Boston repaved.
Mm-mm.
Well, it took a while for the second lane to actually start coming in. When they first repaved it, they were making, during practice, they would put cones out so you would run the top to add rubber into the asphalt just so, there would be that second groove. And now kind of that's the preferred groove is the second groove when you race there. But, it's going to take time for the new asphalt to come in and to create the grip that it needs. But
well, they're saying it's already coming apart in places. Some are saying some about the aggregate they used in it is not sturdy enough.
Really?
And they think that it's going to start ripping up. And rumor is they've already talked about if it were to start coming up, the company having to warranty it, how quick they can shut it down and have it repaved for the next race. And they say I think they said it would take 2 or 3 days to rip it up and pave it because it's so small. It's not a significant place. But I was thinking to myself, you do that, a 3-day pave job without cure time, you're going to be back in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I have to beg NASCAR to get their tire draggers out there.
That's what I was thinking. The tire drag and just go out there and see if that would keep it from. That's what they use at all the big tracks now when they repave them. Tire dragging. I don't know what it is, but I've heard it called that.
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about, since we were kind of talking about Martinsville a little bit earlier, Kaden, you made your truck series debut at Martinsville not too long ago, correct?
Yeah, I did for G2G.
So how was that?
For the experience and stuff, I thought it was cool. We've worked. Me and my dad, my mom have worked really hard, and it was actually able to come true. It wasn't a KVM truck or GMS or anything like that, but it was still something I got to my feet wet in and get approved and, be noticed. I thought we did exceptionally well until that second stage where we got in that incident. But yeah, all that stuff aside, I had a good experience. I know what to expect now when I go, if I'm able to go back, which I hope I am. But it was fun. I raced with. I didn't race with these guys, but I did race the Valley Star last year, so I did have a Martinsville experience, and that kind of helped me out too.
Yeah, I mean, Martinsville's it's another place you can talk about rich in history and tradition and stuff. And we've had a couple guys on the show before that have won in the truck series there, so I was just kind of curious that, just how awesome is it just turning laps in that track in one of the top 3 series? Even, your first time, it's got to be something that you're in awe.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much that's what it was. I was like, I'm turning laps around, and I've watched Johnny Sauter ever since I've been a little kid, and all of a sudden I start right next to him, and I raced with them.
Shoot.
I raced with Byron. I raced with
Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I did race with Kyle a little bit. I did race with somebody else in that race. I forgot who that racing cup, but I've watched Johnny for my whole life, and just be able to race with him and those other guys too. Kyle, I literally was at Five Flags when I was 5 years old in 2009, and I had him sign an autograph picture of me shaking his hand outside of the booth, and just like racing with him now, it's just kind of like everything has come together and it's worked. And I hopefully have some stuff next year too I'll be able to put together.
And it's cool because it only takes one guy to notice you. It only takes Kyle Busch to race against you, or somebody in there that knows it and says, man, I just kind of like the way you raced and the way you drove, and give you that opportunity.
Yeah, I wish I wish it was like that still, but it's kind of going to a different direction, unfortunately. But there are still some guys out there that that keep their old ways. Unfortunately, Kyle is not one of them, but it's just the way it is now, and that's why it takes extra work now just to be able to make it happen. You don't make it in on too much talent anymore. Like, I guarantee you, if Jimmy Johnson or somebody like that was still out there, it still had to pay money. If he was 18 years old, he would have to pay money to go and race a race car still.
Yeah.
Just not based on how good he is.
It's based on the money or which sponsors just what they want.
Yeah. It's just all changed. It's hard to adapt to.
Or
but
if you get in with a car manufacturer.
Yeah.
That's what's difficult too. With the TRD deal, it's not TRD finds drivers. People find TRD and just tell them, hey, we have money for this. Okay, You're labeled as a TRD driver. You're not really a TRD driver. You're just there to represent them as a part of their group. And then Ford's the last hope is Haley. I've already been a part of that conversation.
Hold on, who we talking about? Haley Deegan?
Yeah.
Bodine, do you want to step outside for this part of the conversation or anything? Just want to make sure. I mean,
so I was a part of the Ford Performance conversation before, and before we could even talk about it, Ford automatically said that they're not doing any more driver development. Chase Briscoe was the last Ford Performance driver that they will ever have. And Haley is the last one because she is the most marketable person for them, and they'll sell anything off of her, and that's the only reason why they kept her.
Yeah.
And then Chevy.
And Toyota did the same thing.
Yeah.
Toyota did the exact same thing to her.
Yeah. Chevy has Carson Hocevar. They help him out a lot, but they don't have anybody like. They do this almost the same thing as TRD does, so it's just not. Other than Ford, which hasn't been done in the last 3 years, it's kind of just died away.
And because she was on Door Bumper Clear yesterday, and she alluded to the fact that she was with TRD, same situation. They just promised her all this stuff.
But where's it at? There's nothing there.
But it's nothing there. That's because somebody didn't pay the way through it.
So what is TRD for anybody that doesn't know?
Toyota Racing Development.
Okay.
My thing is with that deal is that they have so many drivers.
They do.
How in the world are they going to fill those people in? They can't.
They can't.
They can't.
But I think there's getting ready to be a couple seats on because I still predict I think Kyle Busch is done. I really do. I think Kyle Busch is done, and I think Martin Truex is too.
I can see Truex retiring. I don't know about Kyle.
I do. I think Kyle's just going to pop off and retire. It's just a prediction.
I don't know if he'll retire, but he may not be with Gibbs.
He definitely. I don't think he definitely won't be with Gibbs. He may not retire. He may branch out on his own, but hell,
If he does it, he's going to do it like go out with a bang. I'm
he
sure.
will. And
Or it's going to be instant. He's just going to be like, all right, that's it.
well, we know Dodge is itching to come back in,
Yeah.
or another manufacturer, a fourth manufacturer. I mean,
Hyundai.
Kyle Busch is just the prime. Kyle, I mean, if
Can
he
you
wants to do it,
imagine?
but
I
you
mean,
can't.
shoot,
Well, yeah,
the money.
It's got to. They
Money,
got to have a
yeah.
V8. They got to have a V8 and have an American. I forget what it is. They have to build cars in the U.S. But
Just
he'll-
hoping Tesla. That's what he's hoping
well,
for.
I want that to be its own series. I don't want that. I don't want the electric cars in Cup. Or
Oh,
any
that'll
other
be so
series.
exciting to talk about the Tesla series, so we can get all the crew guys in here talking about all the pit stops and stuff. For God,
Yeah, obviously
get
you've
that-
never
get that
watched
idea.
Formula E,
Yeah. Oh, that's.
Hold on, what's
We're-
Formula E?
the electric Formula One car.
Did they still switch cars?
I believe so. They were switching battery packs, and that didn't work too well.
Yeah. I didn't think so.
Those little bastards are loud too. They're
Yeah.
like you. They joke about hearing electric cars racing. You wouldn't hear anything, but those little son of bitches are scream.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Formula E is actually a pretty popular racing series on for electric Formula One cars. They race on smaller circuits, and it's actually pretty entertaining because they're wild and nimble
Hold on,
little
an
cars.
E series
Yeah.
for electric cars.
Yes. Formula E.
So there's an online series for electric cars.
No.
Yeah,
No,
it's-
it's
Okay,
a
I was
real
gonna be
series.
life. Yeah.
Okay.
Formula E
okay.
is the
I
actual
was gonna be like,
physical.
well,
Yeah.
that just kind of like splitting hairs.
I got you,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, it's all a computer. Doesn't matter if it's gas.
No,
or
I got you.
electric.
No,
Okay,
it
okay.
But it's a hugely popular series, especially overseas.
Yeah. And they race a lot of places.
Yeah,
Mainly street circuits.
street circuits and narrow little street circuits, and they stay in packs and they're fast little guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know that one day that it will come to NASCAR, but I don't want it to take over the three series. I would rather it be its own standalone series and be its own unique product. But that's just my opinion, and that's probably not the way it'll go. But
So you made your debut at Martinsville, and that was pretty cool. So you're here on the Cars Tour now, and I kind of want to know, for you guys as a team, how long have y'all been together? I mean, is this y'all's first season? Did y'all work some together last season, or how did that get thrown together?
Like as far as the two of us.
No, the three of y'all right here. I mean, this is
Oh,
y'all
okay.
driver. Y'all
So
been,
Caden's fresh with us.
okay.
This is his first season with us.
Like race
So
six
only these
now.
first four-
Race 5, race 6.
Yeah.
We're breaking him in quick.
Yeah.
So like
I broke in on race 2.
Yeah, right.
So like I said,
Welcome to the
I
family,
started
bud.
in late 14, early 15, and then DJ was right after me, and
We're like brothers at this point.
Yeah.
Spend
And
more
and I
time
had,
with each other
I
than
had
we do
my
anybody.
sabbatical at KBM for a year, and then I came back.
He
So
left me for a year. That's what he's trying to say in a nice way,
Yeah.
but it's all right.
So y'all been with Timmy Peters mostly.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So we were
where's
actually.
he at now? He's still running around.
So Timothy actually works for UPS now.
that's right. I think I heard that.
Yeah,
I think Chris Williams may have told us.
made
that.
a big life change and wanted to be closer to his family, and
Yeah, we're happy for him.
Yeah.
we still get to see him every now and then, but we're happy for him.
yeah, very.
Of course.
Yeah. How did it, and KBM just wasn't what it was. It the NASCAR world, or is it just?
Yeah, so I don't know. I really enjoy just being able to do all aspects of working on a race car, where once you get into the top 3 series, you're delegated a certain job and that's all you do. And so like working in the shop is like working in a factory. You do the same thing over and over. It's just that repetitive
Yeah.
motion, it got really tiring, and I did enjoy being on the road and seeing all the different places, going to Eldora, Chicagoland, Phoenix, Homestead, and went to all these different cool racetracks and had really good experiences. But just being in the shop was the biggest letdown for me.
I can see that.
Well, you sound just like, we had Chris on here, we were talking about earlier, Chris Bowen. He said that, he kind of worked his way up towards the bigger series, and it didn't have that same feel. It didn't.
Yeah, it gets way more political. The people get the mentality of people in the sport change, and that was a little offsetting. But at the same time, I met some really good friends. My teammates, I still keep in touch with them, and we still have a good relationship. But just the higher ups in those series is a big turnoff for me.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And for me, and I think with racing, a lot of times what you mess up is where you learn your lessons a lot of times. I mean, you learn more from things that don't go right than you do when they do go right.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you win in every week, you get behind.
Right.
In some ways, if you're winning every week, you kind of get behind. You got to stay ahead of that curve. And when everything's just going perfect and everything's cookie cutter, it's just not always. It gets boring.
Right.
And I could see that. If you were just in there, the interior specialist, you show up at the shop and you put interiors together and do all that for the drivers. And then you go to the track, and that's all you do.
Yeah.
Or the shocks. You work on the rear shocks. That's all you do is the rear shocks. Whatever it is, you see that same thing every week and the same thing in the shop. And now for you guys, you'll work on the shocks today, you put the motor in tomorrow,
Hang a body. Work on front suspension here.
Yeah, exactly.
Fabricate something the next day. It just doesn't, it's always revolving. We might do a lot of the same stuff weekly, after races, but at the end of the day, you're still doing so much more. And that's what's really nice about it, because you can, if you think about what you're doing and you think there's a better way to do it, you get those creative moments where you can to better yourself every day. So it's, to me, that's the biggest quality of doing this over doing something where you're delegated a job.
And I guess what you would pick up in one of those series is when something does go wrong, and you're like, well, that's how they figured their way through it.
Yeah.
And that you can take that back to working at this shop.
Oh yeah.
It's like, well, we had a similar problem at Darlington, and this is what we did there. Let's see if we can adapt that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was plenty of things that I was able to take away from KBM, just working in the shop and how things were run a little bit more efficiently there, because a lot of those guys are old racers and have been doing it for so long that they know the most efficient way to do things. And I've been able to take some of those ideas and put them into light with this team, and that's been a pretty big part of it too.
Yeah. I tell you, it made me think of a story, and I said Darlington, and it made me remember one of my stories of stupid stuff that you would do. And Dean was actually there for this. I don't even remember this. When I worked for Jimmy there for those few years, Jimmy means have no equipment. I mean, he's probably still running the same engine he had in 1970, the same block. Right. So Kevin LePage was driving the car, and Darlington was still freshly paved. And I guess it was been 10 years ago. It was still a new surface, and even the Xfinity cars were running as fast as the Cup cars are now. And Kevin came in complaining about the brakes. I don't remember what it was exactly. It was a shimmy or something. He just didn't like the feel of it. And normally what you do, especially at that level, you come in, replace the rotors and brake pads. Mm-hmm. Not Jimmy. Jimmy has me tear down the front suspension, take the brake pads off. He said, take the brake pads off. He said, go out there where the asphalt's real gritty and grind them down.
Oh, yeah.
He said,
scuffing pads.
And I sat there for 2 hours, I believe, scuffing those pads, and I stuck them back on a race car. And I said, Kevin, he get ready to go back out for practice. I'm like, I just don't know if I hit them. I just don't know if I do that, buddy. And it damn bastard stuck. I mean, you're talking about 180 at Darlington going off into the corner, and you barely stick the corner and slow down to turn at that place anyways. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd be going on them brakes. And I mean, the rotor's still going to be warped. All I did was rescuff the pads just to make it drive. Sometimes you do those things just to make your driver happy, I believe.
Yeah.
It's psychosomatic. You just make the driver think you're doing something, and then, man, this thing's great.
Big part of it.
It is.
That's got to be a big part of it.
Why are you smiling, Kaden?
You make that.
I'm definitely not that. I swear, I promise.
Have you ever seen a happy race car driver? A race car driver is totally happy with the car. You've done something.
Not on race day.
Not on race day.
Test days is a different day.
Test days, he's happy and yeah.
Pretty young lover, won't you fly away from me? Blue-eyed mama done got all the best you see. I'm all worked over 'cause you're dancing on my feet. Pretty young lover, won't you leave tonight with me? Get along, honey, don't you dare let it by. That regret just won't let you hang your head down. Better hold it up high. You had a one shot hanging from a thin thread line. You missed your mark, kid. Oh, watch him die. Lord, I'm begging you, don't let it be my time. While the walls close in and the air slips through the lines. Maybe you can bury me 6 feet deep in the south. Oh, my broken heart yelling, trying to boss death around. Get along, honey, don't you dare let it by. That regret just won't let you hang your head down. Better hold it up high. You had a one shot hanging from a thin deadline. You missed your mark, kid. Oh, watch 'em Every now and then you can feel this weighing down. Close your eyes, you can still hear the muffled road sound. Honey, I hope you're holding on. What you got to get now is about as good as gold. Get along, honey, don't you dare let it by. That regret just won't let you hang your head down. You better own it up high. You had a one shot hanging from a thin thread line. You missed your mark, kid. Whoa, watch him die.
I guess we just need to talk about this weekend.
Yeah,
Coming
yeah,
up.
yeah. We're gonna talk about. We're back. we took a quick break real quick. D. Motley has left us. And
I like the quick breaks we take because it's like an hour full of bullshit. I like our breaks.
That 10-minute break.
I wished at work I could take breaks like we take on this podcast because here it's food, alcohol, and bullshit, and then we may blow something up in the process.
Well, hold on. So since we took a break, we have to throw some music in the mix of it. Who should we throw in there?
Oh, since we're setting stuff on fire, it's Josh Grice for sure.
Well, he's going to start the show and end it, so we got to put somebody different in the middle.
But we're setting stuff. We're setting
Billy
stuff.
Hurt, I don't think I got any of his music though. Plus, I haven't asked him can I use it yet. How about we throw Jared Stout songs in the middle of it? Because we got a show with him coming up here soon.
I hate talking about burning stuff and then not associating Josh with it. But okay.
Well, their music brings us in and leaves us out. So, whatever. That break right there, we just do a bit of Jared Stout music. We don't know what song, but go give them a check. They're going to be playing at Motor Mile Speedway here in a few weeks with Joe Nichols. They're going to be opening up for him here in June. I think it's second week.
Was that postponed?
It's on a Thursday. No, that was the they were playing for the Blues Traveler in Roanoke.
Well, one was postponed.
That was Blues Traveler. Now they're going to be playing at Motor Mile Speedway in June. That's the weekend I'm heading down to the Thunder Nationals in Bristol. And if anybody's never been to a drag race before, NHRA, it is one of the funnest weekends you can go to.
They talk about the
We
fan
have a
experience is second to
blast.
none in NHRA. I've never been to one.
That's
Y'all?
one thing I haven't done myself. I was just talking this morning.
No kidding.
I want to do the 4-wide nationals one time.
Yeah, I'd like to go to that one.
That's,
I would.
That's on the
But the
list,
Thunder
man.
Nationals are.
Interesting factoid about Charlotte's drag strip. Did you know that the grandstands come from Rockingham Speedway?
Really?
They transplanted them. They moved them when Rockingham shut down. They moved the grandstands from there to Charlotte to the drag strip. It's a random factoid.
Florence Speedway also has grandstands. Well, they have the seating from the grandstands at their speedway.
Really? Mm-hmm. I'll be damned. Didn't know that.
Well, either way, I'm going to try and
Probably
get you down
repurposing
there
it.
that weekend boating if I can get you a couple of tickets because it's like my wife's godfather. I believe they've got those sweet tickets right behind the start-finish line, and it's you can go up on top there and drink beer and watch them go. And I'm telling you what, and I'm sure all y'all boys have been to Bristol before.
Yeah.
40-some cars running around Bristol is a loud evening. It doesn't matter if it's cars, trucks, anything. 2 top fuel cars leading off at the drag strip will deafen you more than 40 cars at the oval wheel.
And
any
that
day of the
drag
week.
strip is so cool because the way it goes right into
The
that
mountains.
little valley.
Yeah, I mean, if you
It's
outrun
wild.
it, you're going straight into the hill.
It seemed like in the 90s when they used to compare NHRA racing and NASCAR racing, it seems like I remember them saying that a top fuel dragster has more horsepower than all 43 cars put together or something like that. Some random, I don't know if that's necessarily right. It was some sort of random fact. So many cars, I don't know how much horsepower they got. I have no freaking clue.
And it's about 10,000 now, I think.
Okay, so that would be pretty dang close. If
Well,
you,
they're
back
about
then,
550. I think NASCAR
550
cars are 550.
it was a 90s thing, so 600 or 700 in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so that 10,000 horsepower, it's pretty close to that. That's a lot of
We're
damn
back
power.
up there. We're right behind the start-finish line. When you go to the top of the tower, outside, and get a couple beers or whatever, you take your cell phone and you want to, film one of the races. When they're just sitting there idling, the fumes and stuff, whatever they're putting off. If you're looking at your phone, it looks like you're on a mushroom trip because your phone is doing all kinds of weird stuff just from the fume. It's mind-boggling.
I think
how
they run
powerful.
nitromethane. Is
Yeah.
that shit that burns clear, or is that what
Yeah,
IndyCar runs?
Yeah, it's
No.
something when what's on fire, you can't
see it.
that's
See
on
it.
fire.
Yeah, I used to see it in IndyCar races. The guy would just be flopping around. The
Yeah.
fuel guy would be
Look
like,
like
"What
an
the
idiot."
hell is wrong with him?"
Well, that's what they used to run in Formula One as well.
Yeah.
And when
They
Niki
stopped
Lauda caught on fire, that's what he burned up on.
Yeah,
couldn't-
They couldn't put it out,
Yeah.
so they quit. Actually, Formula One doesn't even fuel the cars anymore. They
Not
run
anymore.
one tank of fuel for the whole race.
You're kidding.
Nah.
No refueling.
It's crazy. I heard a story of a dude, I don't know what, it's probably been 40, 50 years ago at Hagerstown Speedway. It was a dirt race, and he was in a wreck and it busted a fuel cell, and he caught on fire and he got out of the car, and he thought he was rolling in water and he was rolling in fuel.
Oh,
And they said, like,
Yowzer.
destroyed him.
Shit.
it's like Ricky Bobby shit. Like literally, he gets out of the car. You don't know what's happening. It's like this guy's lost his mind, but no, he's on friggin' fire. And yeah.
Well, didn't you cost Jimmy Means and them a good finish one time at a track?
Oh yeah, Dover. And so we, I got to tell this story right. So we went up to Dover and we drove up, and we running it, and I calculated the fuel mileage. I wasn't real good with the shit. Don't get me wrong. And come in for the last pit stop, and Jimmy had we switched to the new nozzles, the ones they run now with the that fancy seal. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to engage. Oh, yeah. It really is hard to engage. And if you've used one, you know what I'm talking about. And you're talking about, 100 pounds on your shoulder that goes from 100 to 2 pounds in a matter of 10 seconds. Well, anyways, the filler nozzles was made for a left-handed fuel man. So that meant when I used it, I'm right-handed, the cap to fill it was right here on my shoulder.
Digging in your shoulder.
Digging into my shoulder. So we run it. It was the last time we had to stop. I told Jimmy, when you pit for fuel, we'll be good to the end of the race. And it went green. We come in, green flag stop, and put the first can in. When I grabbed the guy handed me the second one, it hit my shoulder and it knocked the nozzle off. The filler cap. All the fuel run out of the damn can down into my fire suit, all through me.
On fire, literally.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell them what was happening. The car didn't get full. And so Jimmy did this, didn't really know at the time, and I didn't tell him until we left the track. So what happened was we're going on, and he driving along says, motor's blowing up. I'm like, motor's blowing up.
How many laps to go?
There's probably 10 laps to go. Yeah. And I got to thinking, no, motor didn't blow. The fuel that's supposed to be in the fuel cell is in my damn fire suit and running over my nether regions and my shoes. We rode all the way back from Dover with the windows open, just praying that there wasn't a spark in the damn car. But I texted Jimmy on the way home, and I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with that motor. I'm pretty sure it just run out of fuel.
Then what did he say back to you?
He never responded.
Never.
And I don't know how bad we finished because of that, but sure enough, the cap just came off and you just felt it go down. The only person that really knew at the time was the fireman that was standing right there. He was ready to put me out in case the damn thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
You just hit them lug nuts will hit and it just right up. Hell, it would have been in my fire suit. It wouldn't have been no fire hitting me. It would have went into the fire suit. And yeah, there was a lot of fuel that got lost.
He was standing there excited, hoping you caught on. Some of those guys there, man, are like, they're ready to go.
They are ready.
Yeah, they want to put some fire out. They would. That's what's funny. You see them at the tracks is them. It can be just a little bitty flame, and the people are restraining them from putting the fire out. They're gun ho and shit because you do a lot of damage with a fire extinguisher.
Absolutely, chill some brakes.
You destroy a race car with a fire extinguisher. You really do. And
these are things that the average fan doesn't know anything about. So
and especially if the engine's still running. Another example, Haley Deegan. Did you see what happened to her at
Atlanta?
Was it Atlanta?
Yeah, left rear caught on fire, and the
left rear caught on fire
all the way up into her hose.
It went, and when she come into the pits, she pulled into the pit stall, and TJ Majors was a spotter. He's like, "All right, guys, left rear's on fire. Get ready to shoot it." And he's telling them. She pulls into the stall. When they shoot the damn thing, it goes right into her helmet fresh air vent.
Oh yeah, because they're right in the deck lid.
She's literally in the car choking on that shit, and she couldn't get out. And nobody knew. She reached up and grabs the wind net it's just a cloud of... You can watch it on YouTube, and they're like... The crew chief finally notices it and says, "Get her out of the car. Get her out. Just to hell with the truck. Just, let so much burn." She was choking to death on that fire extinguisher in there because it just filled her helmet and everything full of it.
Sure.
Yeah. She was pretty bad off for a few days. Because she inhaled all that stuff. Like, fire extinguisher does a lot of damage to a race car. You don't really want one to go off you, but hopefully you're awake and can get the hell out of it. That's your best bet.
That's stuff you don't even think about. Just as your average fan, you're not thinking about the stuff it does to the car or the damage it does or anything like that, or being able to
the driver's lungs.
Yeah. You're just thinking, just another.
And do they still run the automatic ones? Or are they all manual release now? At one time, they did run some automatic, or is under the hood automatic?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Some of them are automatic under the hood.
Under the hood, and in the fuel cell's an automatic, and then the one in the driver's compartment is a manual.
Yeah, it's on a pull pin, yeah.
And
so one of the craziest things I've ever seen was at a race one time, and the automatic went off. like in the middle of the race, and the dude just goes over the end of the track. Thankfully, it didn't have a guardrail, but he just launched it. Couldn't see anything, just filled the inside of the car, and he just launched it off the end of the track.
And the purpose in them is to displace air. Well, if you're breathing that in, it's displacing the air in your lungs.
Yep, displace oxygen.
Especially the halon type fire extinguishers too. But I mean, you breathe them. It's if you've ever Freon, same way. If you're leaking out of an air conditioned system and you breathe that in, you can feel yourself getting short of breath because there's no damn oxygen, which is illegal. You're not supposed to do that. But
that sounds like a story for a different time.
Yeah.
and it's stories like this is why I love these kind of shows right here. And this is one of the big reasons why. And me and Bodine talked about this before, and Julian and all of us. Of regardless of the racing this year in NASCAR, if they go to this new kind of deal with the next gen car, and it's basically a crate car, you're losing out on these stories right here, man. You're losing out.
You do.
On guys, talking about getting to the track and struggling, or having to go in and build something that the other wouldn't,
And I'm conflicted because you are right.
Those stories are gone. You know what I mean? And that's why tonight are so important, because you're what are you, 18 years old? For the love of God. When's your birthday?
Next month.
June.
Yeah.
2003?
2003, June 23rd.
I was nursing an ACL injury in effing Baghdad when he was born. I lived a whole nother life, and it's mind-boggling to think that these are the stories right here. They're gonna tell the next generation, because NASCAR doesn't have them.
They don't have
these
the
car
stories.
Tour shows. They don't.
It's the side stories that are fun with NASCAR. And there's 2 points I bring up, and I told when we're talking about race cars and my interest in the next gen chassis, the difference I see about this, and y'all are mechanics, we got a driver here. Here's what I do like about it. And everybody says old NASCAR and comparing it. When if we go back to the 70s, pre-82, when they went to mostly cookie cutter bodies and body panels into the teams, it was essentially, for lack of better words, a crate car, because you got the car and the engine from GM or Ford, Dodge, whatever it was, and you build a roll cage in it and you go to race. Yeah. That's where the term stock car racing come from. I'm not going to race a stock car today at 200 miles an hour. I'm not going to race a unibody with a roll cage.
No.
Nobody is. So stock car racing, in theory, will never be what it was in terms of stock car racing. With the next gen, it was sort of the manufacturer makes it all, sends it to the teams, you put it together. To me, it's not the same. I get it, but it's more similar to it than having a bunch of different cars. I can literally, we could sit here right now and buy the same car that Hendrick Motorsports is racing next week and have the same. That's why I do like it. But Billy's right. From the gearhead standpoint, there is some lack of engineering and ability in it. There's no doubt about it.
What do y'all think as mechanics and a driver for somebody that, might be staring? I mean, you're 18 years old. You got your world in front of you. You could be racing on Sundays in 5 years. I mean, you've got every opportunity in the world to do it. I mean, do you have any kind of thoughts on the whole?
Well, I don't know. I think it's. I think they did a good step in the right direction. To be honest, I like what they're going to do with it. I think it puts a lot more competition into it. We
got like Ross Chastain's up front.
Yeah, you
yes.
take
Absolutely.
A brand new team is out there kicking Hendrick Motorsports' teeth in, and it's just and then Rick Ware has quit running 30th every week, and they're running the top 20 every other week.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot more improvements I think they've done. With the diffuser and stuff like that, from being around it, I don't think that was necessarily the way to go, but to make everybody run the same car is definitely a thing that they had to do to bring the competition back.
I don't think the diffuser needs to be on short track
No,
cars.
because
it's kind of pointless on a short track car.
It doesn't need to be on a short track. It doesn't need to be on a road course car.
well, that's what it is. It's a road course car.
Yeah, it is.
The
It's a
next
V8,
gen is a road
V8
course car.
supercar.
Basically.
That's why when they go to these mile and a halves, people struggle, and they can't do one piece or do anything to be able to not wreck.
Yep.
And that's just one thing that I think they screwed up on with the rack pinion in the front. You have zero feel
Yes.
Yeah.
in the front end, So the driver's like, literally, Kevin Harvick said it himself. He doesn't even know what the heck the car's going to do next.
Because
that's
there's no instant feedback from.
No, because as soon as it snaps, it snaps.
Y'all run
That's
steering
it.
boxes the old style, right?
Oh yeah.
There's no rack and pinion.
Yeah.
They're literally a knockoff of the V8 supercars, which is
Yeah.
phenomenal racing. Y'all ever watched it?
Oh
shit?
yeah. I love it.
Bathurst? Oh my
Bathurst,
God!
yeah.
Skyline is insane.
Yeah.
I know you've had to
Yeah.
run it on iRacing.
I have.
God Almighty, that's beautiful. And I'm gonna try to get into V8 supercars. It's a time change. But Penske brought over a current generation because they're getting ready. V8 supercars are moving to a new car. They've got a next gen. But the current Cup car is based off the current V8 supercar.
Mm-hmm.
And Penske brought over a V8 supercar to test at Watkins Glen. It was published in an Australian newspaper. It hadn't quite hit U.S. papers yet. Now, my buddy in Australia sent me the article and was like, "Yo, this is interesting." I'm like, "Damn, I know who I'm betting on when it comes back to the road courses."
Right. And to talk about what you hit on earlier, going back to the old days and people trying to relate to the old ways of NASCAR. I feel like that's wrong in a lot of ways. If you look back to the 70s and 80s when NASCAR was big, but you look at these races and the leader is 5 laps ahead of
that's what it
second
was in
place,
the 70s, yeah.
And
was a
what kind of
massacre.
racing is that?
It wasn't.
No.
I think it was the experience.
Yeah,
I
it
think-
is. It's all about the experience when it comes to the fan.
It is. And that's where I go back to what I'm talking about with Flo, where I'm talking about with Bowman Gray, where I'm talking about the Cars Tour is able to capture that now.
Yeah.
And that's why I really truly believe that's why we're having the short track resurgence.
Right.
I think it's the ability to be able to go to the track if it's local, because that's
Yeah.
what we want to do. We all want to be at the track. We would
sure.
rather not watch it on our phone.
For sure.
There's that a doubt. But with families, real world, jobs, it's not possible to be there. Well, Bowman Gray's missing out on that extra. I don't know what cut they get. Let's just say it's $5. I mean, I know it's not $5 per person, but I mean, if it was $5, that's $5 they wouldn't have got either way because they couldn't make it to the track.
Right.
Right.
But they got that cut because that guy watched it on TV at home.
Yeah.
That they didn't get before. A true racer, and this is what promoters need to understand, people that really love racing are going to be at the track. It don't matter if they can
Yeah.
have it in their hand.
Right.
It does not matter. I truly believe that. And that's where it's coming from. It's Flow Racing and Speed 51 that's making this resurgent. And Modifieds and Cars Tour are really...
Well, Cars Tour, what are they? They're not even. They're on like Pit Road TV.
Yeah, they got their
Yeah.
own. They got it's a different one, but
Yeah.
I mean, I use Pit Road. That is a example of Speed 51, whatever the ones that are.
Yeah, so if you can't make it to the track this weekend to watch a race, check it out on Pit Road TV.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really think that's. I could
The
be
last
wrong.
Cars race up here at Callaway was unbelievable. It was Looney and who
Jared
else?
Fryer.
Yes.
And it was definitely a good barn burner, they say. It was a good race.
yeah,
They went to war
Yeah.
for like 10, 15 laps.
And that's what you want to see.
And
you want to see the show.
And talking about this, short track resurgence, I feel like, my opinion, that the next gen car, NASCAR, they need to find that connection with this current generation of people where they can become racers or race fans and to get that feeling that they once had before. The older generation's not going to have the same feeling they had back in the 70s or 80s or 90s or whatever, but they have to somehow entertain this new generation to get that same feel.
It was a connection to the fans then.
Yeah.
When me and Billy were kids and we would go to Martinsville, we couldn't get. You used to buy pit passes. Generally,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just like a ticket.
Yeah.
Right.
But after the race, you could skip down through the fence and you could go in there and get Richard Petty's auto. I've got Richard Petty's tire from Martinsville at my mom's house.
Yeah.
And you could get that.
Yeah.
That's what's missing today.
Oh, for sure.
It's not necessarily just the racing, because I personally believe the competition is better today than ever. I think the racing's great for the most part in every level of auto sports.
Yeah.
I think the fan in the stand, whether it be the Cars Tour, the Cup Series, Truck Series, whatever, there's been a disconnect.
Yeah.
I think that over the last 10 or 15 years, well, prior to the last 10 years or so, because really we didn't really know how big the car stores was coming back, and now the smart mods, those series are coming back. We really didn't pick up on it when it first started happening. We're just now seeing it. But prior to that, people were just getting away from it. It just wasn't that entertainment. They just couldn't connect with the drivers. It's hard to connect with Jimmy Johnson.
You're right.
It really is. And you connect a little bit better with Kyle Busch because he's the heel. But it was hard to connect to those names, and they were just going out winning. You just wanted to hate them because they was on the front page of the paper every time you read it.
Right.
And now somehow I think Twitter helps guys like Steve Post being at the tracks every week, going to a different. He'll be covering a Cup race on Sunday, and he's at Millbridge on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And you're seeing Kyle Busch's son. You're seeing Owen Larson and Cash Boyer and Keelan Harvick. All of them are racing. We're seeing that on their kids, and the drivers are there with them. It's so cool to see how that's coming around. And these kids are going to be right in those cars. Yeah. I really think it's fascinating what we're seeing take place. Chase Elliott was a little bit of that generation. Mm-hmm. I think seeing that kind of started, that part started picking up because we seen Bill at the track. Chase was racing. We got to see a lot of that started coming in the internet in the early 2010s. So I like the way that's coming in, and I believe now it's taken off. We're really able to see the family side of racing and actually make a connection.
For sure.
They're not just a person. I mean, a person out that shows up once a week, gets out of his hauler and jumps in a race car. They're a family. They're on there. We're seeing more of their lives, and, even the bad side. We've seen Kyle Larson do something he shouldn't have. That made controversy. Now Denny Hamlin, the same thing, and under retrospect. So there's good and bad, but once they're learning to sift through it and say, hey, well, just do, I think that connection is making it better, and I think that's why Billy's got back into it better. And it's not just, I think your connection to the smaller series has led to a better connection with the bigger series.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I grew up.
That's where it starts.
I grew up on short track.
Yeah.
NASCAR and stuff, and then NASCAR left a bad taste in my mouth, and here we are, and we get to speak with guys like Kaden and you guys, and it really brings back the passion I had when I was young to be able to bridge those gaps, and now because I get to speak with you guys and get to hear your stories, I always know where the next guy's trying to get to, and I respect that. I respect they're trying to get to the top level NASCAR, so I want to tune in on Sundays just to be able to keep the conversation going. And I'll be honest, the racing this year has been a lot better than I remember in the past.
It has.
But I keep up with it a whole lot more because I want to see, Barry's guys. I want to see you guys do well because Barry gave us his time. He gave us his time a couple months ago to come in here.
Yep.
And for that, I want to see him succeed, and I want to see you guys succeed. And to have you all in here and to be able to tell your stories. And, Cade, you've got so much. You got so much potential and so much, and you guys get to see him race around. I mean, it's great to be able to come in here and tell these stories.
It is, and I love being able to make that connection. You guys have been a little bit more on the car store than I have in the late model scene. I've been keeping up more with the modifieds.
I was always more of a modified guy.
I was too,
but I loved going to see the late models at Martinsville every year for the 300.
It's kind of a tradition.
And I always loved seeing the late models at Callaway every year because they always brought a big crowd. And to be able to go in there on Saturday and relive, my moments when I was a kid, to see 27 or 28 late models show up. Because here recently, I mean, for a show at Franklin County, you might get 9 or 10 late models if you're lucky. Sometimes I've been up there before when there's been 4 or 5. That's not getting it done. But you got guys like you up here. You've got guys like Brandon or Kaden, on two different trajectories coming in here and all being able to compete and give the fans something to root for. I mean,
it makes that personal connection.
It really does.
You get to see in a different aspect of it, and we really are this year. And I kind of like that's what we've been doing with the podcast, is being able to help people connect with. And I think we've actually done that.
We've done a great job. And then this Saturday night, we're going to have a huge tailgate there in Turn 2. We're going to set up, do a show. After that, we're going to have a bunch of people up there, and we're going to watch some good racing after the fact. We have a lot of people showing up because they know what kind of a track Franklin County is. But at the same time, the Cars Tour, they understand what you boys are all about. They understand that the passion you all have. They want to go up there and root it on. They're gonna have a blast.
And
doing
these
it.
big races have been showing up good at Callaway.
Yeah.
And me, something always triggers it in you. And like you said, this year it's been different for you because of the podcast. And for me, the modified connection was Madhouse in 2010, and that got me into the modifieds. I was able to make that
I was
connection.
always a modified fan back.
Well, I was able to connect with the fans down there, and I was able to see the stupid shit they do down there, and that made the personal connection to it. It's like, man, they're just like us.
Right. Absolutely.
Have you ever seen? I mean, you want your car to look good to go to the track, but like they come up with chrome bumpers and Nerf bars at Bowman Gray, and hell, if they're tore up, they'll re-chrome them during the week, and they'll be back to pristine condition.
Oh, some of those cars are just immaculate week after
Multiple
week after
sets.
week.
They're better looking than Cup cars on Sundays.
Yeah.
They are immaculate
every week. Tim Brown's car is immaculate.
That is one of the most
every
beautiful
week.
race
It
cars
is.
there is, hands down.
He is the best. I've heard that he will take the entire car apart. I know he takes the entire car apart piece by piece completely every off season.
Oh, I'm sure.
And he puts nuts, bolts, everything's clean, put back together. Everything's new, bolts, fasteners, all of it goes back new. And every week he tears the car down. It reminds me, y'all know Hirschman, the modified guy that's been kicking ass everywhere?
Yeah, he's been on it here lately.
Yeah.
He has. So Chris Williams
Money
told me.
Matt.
Chris Williams told us about him. He stays after the race. Like when he wins, no matter what, or loses, it didn't matter, which he rarely loses. He goes in, he sets the car up there and goes back through the car. He takes all the measurements and goes through the entire car before it ever goes on the trailer. He takes all the notes, documents everything where any ride heights changed, any puts it up on his scales. Everything is gone through before it ever goes on a trailer because he's able to write. The mental notes are fresh in his head,
Right.
and all that is done before it ever goes on the trailer. And what's weird is they tear that guy down. I don't understand this. Maybe y'all can help me. They said that most of his lead that he's putting around the drive shaft, he's putting it in the center of the car.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
understand it, but I'm like, that just doesn't make sense to me. They say he's got lead hanging around the drive shaft in the tunnel, or where the tunnel,
Right. Well,
It's working.
Anytime you can keep lead off the right side, it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
If you can keep it on the left or, towards the center of the car, it's going to be.
He's
It's
making
gonna
it
be
work.
way better.
It must be some wicked setup he's got to counter it. I have no idea, but they say when they tear him down, that's what it. Or look at it and they inspect it, they roll in. I said, "What the hell's he got lead hanging under the center, boy?" Most of it's always in the left side.
Whatever he's doing it right.
You're damn
now, 'cause
right he
He's
is.
on it wherever he goes.
And people will catch up to him, but if he's that damn smart to figure it out once, he'll figure out something else.
100%. You're all the time working.
Yeah.
Even when you're good, you have to still be working to stay
That's
on
how you
top of
stay
it.
good.
He's
Yeah.
a madman, apparently, though.
Well, before we get out of here, a couple more things I wanted to touch on really quick.
Shortest 10 minutes.
You boys are going to get to run North Wilkesboro coming up here in the next few months. Cars Tour is coming twice. I think, like August 20th, my birthday
the
weekend,
dates.
and like the 29th, the weekend after. How excited are y'all about that? I mean,
Has it even set in, really?
has it set in? I mean,
Honestly, didn't know it was 2 times.
I'm pretty sure it is, right, buddy?
Well,
I thought it was
run
2
the-
consecutive dates.
Yeah.
No,
well,
I thought it was
there's-
2 days and then a
There's
week.
two different races, 2 different race times. There's the pros, the Cars Tour pros are going to
okay.
run, and then the late models are the last week. I guess the last week in August.
That's y'all.
30th.
Yeah.
and the
You're gonna be okay.
Yeah,
that's one
30th
weekend we're
and
gonna try and make
31st.
it down there.
Yeah,
then,
it's
'cause
like the-
we wanna
But
see y'all
it's
boys
not like a
race.
Cars Tour race. It's Cars Tour sanctioned.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's on the points tour,
So
but
Jack
it's a
McNally
great
is-
opportunity
yeah.
to get out there and showcase what you all
For
got
sure.
on the speedway. So I mean,
Curious
that's
to
gotta be
see-
super exciting.
Curious to see how the track's going to hold up, considering
The haze.
nothing been on it for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I know they've been working on it, like grinding it kind of smooth and
To get
doing
something,
whatever.
yeah.
As soon as they put supers on it, it'll show what it's going to
You
take.
damn right it will.
Yeah.
They're going to tear up some stuff. And the modifieds.
Modifieds,
yeah.
The
yeah.
modifieds will rip up the asphalt in a heartbeat.
But it's,
But I'm definitely curious to see. It'll be interesting.
It's a unique track because you go downhill on the front stretch and you go uphill on the back stretch. It's the damnedest track you ever seen. I don't know who made the track crooked like that. It's like
Yeah.
that though. You go downhill on the front stretch and uphill on the back.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about getting in there and watching the
You
small
and me
mods
went there,
run.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
As kids, you and
As
me.
kids, yeah.
We went to Junior Johnson's shop, and you and me went to the North
We
Wilkesboro
walked
that
around and
same
looked
day.
at it. Didn't get to see a race there. So
No,
I'll
it
be
was
seeing
just-
my first one when the Smart Mods come in early August, and in late August we're gonna go there and try and catch you boys race. And
Let
I mean, it's and then when they tear the track up in October, we're planning on going down again. That'll probably
Yeah.
be the.
Yeah, you got to see a dirt race.
Yeah,
there
that'll be-
too.
that'll be the fun.
That'll just
Yeah.
be one of those things that you can tell
Now
people.
hold on,
that
you're
got
a
to
dirt racer. You're gonna try and get in on one of those dirt races, Kaden?
If somebody wanted to haul 20 hours to make it happen, sure.
Well, if you ain't got to haul 20 hours, hey, if you got a car around here, you need somebody to jump in on it.
Now we need to call Bloomquist. He needs to bring him in a
Come on,
card.
Come on, Scott.
Yeah, get Bloomquist down here to bring him a car. That's going to be a narrow track for a dirt lake model, though. I would think. The way I'm looking,
Probably if they take the walls out and stuff, it's a lot.
I'm kind
It's
of
a lot.
curious how
It'll be easily 3 wide. Be able to.
Yeah, I'm curious how it's going to be. It's going to be a big track. We kind of like 311. It's going to be a lot like 311 down in Mayodan, Madison.
It's gonna be nice with the 1949 dirt.
Yeah,
Yeah, it might need a little work before
Yeah,
you know they get
it's
to that
gonna have
point.
to be a little worked a
might
little
have
bit.
to call in some Callaway red clay.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
So-
excited about that. And then
Yeah.
I'm excited about this weekend as well. And for you boys, so for this season coming up, before we get to Callaway, this season, I mean, what do y'all hope to accomplish this season? Because I know you got, young driver, new team, everything going. You always want to say a championship definitely is a pinnacle of it, but sometimes you got to be realistic about it. I mean, what do y'all hope to be at here at the end of this season with Nelson Motorsports?
Well, definitely didn't sign up to run second in anything. So
You damn right.
That's
definitely
what I
Damn
like to
right.
hear right there.
Ultimately, the
That's what I
goal
like
is
to
to win
hear.
every race we go to.
Yeah.
That's right.
Some
championships,
burnouts. See some
win,
burnouts.
championships, wins. I was hoping that we probably can click off 4 or 5 this year. Hopefully this weekend we start with number 1, but yeah, that's what we're setting out to do.
Dale Earnhardt said it pays more to win.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay,
just-
for you, I mean, where's your ultimately? Where would you like to end up at? Would you like to be racing on Sundays? Is that your ultimate
Yeah,
goal?
that's pretty much what I'm trying to do. My mom and dad work really hard, and if it just don't work out, it don't. I'm not going to kill them. I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize them financially. I want them to have the life they deserve. I want them to be able to go on vacation and retire at least 65 or 60. It's not fair for them to not work until after that. So if it don't work, it don't work out. I always have something to go back on at home, just during my dirt late model program. And who knows? I mean, that stuff, something can happen with that too.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's got to be this. It's opportunity, and one door opens another.
I mean, that was. I mean, I love that answer right there. I really do. I
Yeah,
love it. I mean,
I didn't sign up to run
that-
second.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, the opportunity's there, and if it happens, it happens. And I mean, you've got. If you have Barry Nelson looking at you and thinking you got some talent, then he probably knows what he's talking about. So that's a good sign for the future.
Everybody should maybe your name for this podcast. Name it. I didn't sign up to run second.
We
Sounds
could.
good.
I
like
guess
it.
what it is.
Yeah.
I do. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm
We sure as hell don't plan on running second anytime we leave the shop.
When it
Well,
leaves
I mean,
the
I know
shop, we
it's
plan
always-
on bringing back a trophy and a bunch of confetti all over
Yeah.
the car.
they might
Well, I mean,
have
it's
some
always
wrecked
a
fenders, but
process.
they got the job
Hey, if
done.
it's got
Yeah.
a messed up fender and you brought back a checkered flag with it, we'll put another one on it.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or we might patch it up and let you use it again.
So I did run second to them last year when I was with Justin. But I think we went to war for the
Yeah, it
last
was a
2
good-
months.
yeah,
We
it was a
went to
good,
war for the last 2
6 race
months.
stretch where it was like super
Yeah,
close to
the last 2
points.
months we went at it for a long time, and I don't think me or him put any replacement of fenders or nothing. Like it was we raced really hard. But
Then we went to South Boston.
yeah, South Boston they killed me, and then I've run right there.
Hey, we've heard
fiddling
stories
around.
about that track. I mean, Satchel's
it's
talking
not-
about running at that track. It's a straight oval. It's not even. There's no chance for a break.
The smart
You have
mo-
to be really in shape to be able to run that track.
At the Smart Modified Tour, they had the big one. They had a Talladega style wreck, and it's stacked cars on
Really?
top of each other. Yeah,
I seen
wow.
a
I
picture
do
of that.
remember
That was
that.
just unreal, man.
Yeah, they were
How do you
stacked-
do that?
They were stacked up under the flag stand.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember that you said JB was waving the caution flag. Who in the hell is he waving it for?
they're all in your
the whole-
rack.
yeah, the whole
damn
field's
field's in it right there under him. Who's he waving the flag for?
Put the switch on
And just,
and just slick there and look at him like, what are you gonna do?
so,
Well, yeah, I think everything we got going on here tonight,
yeah.
and with the car store coming up, and with you gentlemen right here, you all are a prime example. And when we talk about local, we like to send kids, and we've had our conversations on here before up here at the cabin with Simon and talking about society and how things go. And for being able to go down to Patrick Henry Community College, which is just, 30 minutes south of here, and to be able to get an education and to be able to learn how to work on race cars and then go into Barry Nelson's program, motorsports, that's the word
That's
I'm
pretty
looking
cool,
for
yeah.
to describe. Pretty cool is about the
Keeping
best
it
way to
local.
describe it, but it's local. And these guys, they come from around here, they come to the shop, and it just goes to show you that you don't have to go to a 4U university and BS yourself through there with a gender studies degree. Go find some of these places around here like Patrick Henry that have these programs. You ain't got to go there 4 years and learn a bunch of nonsense. Learn how to work on a race car, apply. And I'm sure you boys already had knowledge before you even went there. It just helped. It just helped kind of polish your already knowledge and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
And to be able to get the work after that and work
For
with
sure.
a championship program,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge thing for our community.
I tell you, in 2015, it wasn't a championship program.
It wasn't. I mean, that was
It's
the
come a
begin-
long way, and I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that we can both be really proud of.
Yeah.
I feel
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Absolutely.
like I tell him all the time, we're like brothers, but I feel like, from where we started to where we're at now is something to be really proud of.
And y'all have been there since in the beginning from
Yeah.
Nelson Motorsports.
Yeah.
And
Pretty much.
It's crazy to think, I'd have to go back and count up the wins, but I'd say it's over 30 wins. But I mean, there are a lot of big wins and championships, and we've been fortunate to work with good people.
You've been fortunate enough to beat Dale Jr.
That's right.
right.
Yes, many times.
It's cool to tell people, we've got to work with Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin and
Even
Kyle
Kyle
Busch,
Busch,
I mean, and even like Kaden, it's cool to see somebody come in that has tremendous talent
Yeah.
and just see where
shitload of
they can go.
potential.
Yeah, and see where they can go. That's the really cool part of it. But
And to not leave out Bobby, too, because he really helped sculpt the program
100%.
as well.
Bobby has been the backbone of our program. He's worked super hard to
Yeah.
get us to where we're at, and
Yeah.
some of
'Cause
the.
he's been there since basically the beginning.
I mean, he's got blood, sweat, and tears in it, just like the rest of us do.
We're hoping to get him
Plenty
on
of
Saturday.
tears.
Hopefully, him and Barry will show up, and that's how Barry talked about this week. I've been back and forth with him about getting you gentlemen on the show, and he was super proud about. I could tell through our conversation about getting you boys on and talking about how you did come through the program,
Right.
and how you stuck around, and to me, it's a sign of the things to come. It's a sign of, hey, look, get out there, find something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
As well as spending your time, effort, and money into learning it, and you can make a huge difference. And depending, who knows where you gentlemen will go. You two are clearly smart as all get out, being on the mechanical side of things, and you've chosen to stick around here and help out Barry, and that's great. And who knows, in 5 years you'll be able to look at your kids and say, well, we had Kaden here, and he's racing on Saturdays or Sundays. I mean, things like that. You can't put a price tag on that kind of stuff.
And really, it's not even. We can say that now, and we've had some guys that come through there, and like for example, Ty Gibbs, and being able to go out. First race with Ty, we went to Myrtle Beach, and we had some really good coaching with Timothy, and we got another guy, David Triplett, that's been with us basically from the beginning as well, and they were in his ear the whole race, and to go out and win the first time with us, with Coach being there, and the rest of the Gibbs family, and that kind of is like
That's pretty cool.
It's a holy crap moment,
Yeah.
It's like
Oh, it was my hero growing up. Yeah,
we're in victory lane and standing right next to Coach. It's like this is pretty
those are
big.
moments. Those are
That's a
cool
career
moments.
moment. It's a big
that you-
deal.
You add up, yeah,
And
absolutely.
then having Denny Hamlin in your car for his own short track showdown race.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we ran first, second, and third in that race, and that was another holy crap moment.
We actually ran 2 races that weekend. We ran 3 cars on, what was that, Thursday night?
Yeah.
So then we get to bed like 2 o'clock in the morning. We actually have to leave and go to Orange County and run Bobby and Brandon Pierce
Shoot,
on Friday, Saturday with
For
the
a
cars.
car
that's a
short
great.
race.
I mean, that's a great weekend. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
And finished second and third there. So it was a good weekend. But just like
The
talking,
weeks leading up to that were not great, though. That was,
but just like
100-hour work weeks.
talking about the Joe Gibbs deal, I tell my wife all the time, it's crazy when standing in victory lane, and he looks over at somebody and tells them that meant as much to him as winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, growing
His
up,
grandson.
Joe Gibbs
Yeah.
was the man. Like,
Yeah.
I was a diehard Washington Redskins fan.
I was
and,
too.
And like, he
No
was
more,
the man.
but I was.
And to hear him, well,
I'm not a Commanders fan. I'm a Redskins fan if they're gone.
that's a
But-
story for another time.
Yeah, it is. That's another podcast.
But
right there.
like, it's just crazy for to think of what he's done. Win 3 Super Bowls and to be as
In victory
impressive
lane?
as
Yeah.
and to say that meant as much to him as that. Like,
I'm totally
What-
proud. Like
yeah.
those are moments where we don't. It doesn't have to be
like
10
it just
years
kind
down
of
the
gives
road.
you
It's-
goosebumps.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
it's just when a man of his stature makes a comment like that, it's like.
it sticks
all the
with you.
hours.
It resonates.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really does.
it makes it worth it for sure.
But we talk about it just like Bobby when we were talking the other day. Just we reminisce all the time. We're just talking about silly stuff we've done together or races we've been lucky enough to win. I mean, just like 2017, we take Bobby to Langley for the Hampton Heat. Never seen the racetrack, and we pull off a win.
Yeah.
And it's just like that.
Sur-
That stuff just
surreal
sticks
moments.
with
Yeah,
you.
they are surreal moments.
Because when you wake up the next morning, it's kind of like
we did that.
Yeah,
We did that. We were part of that. We were something special. And I think I've got something special here tonight, too. I think, Barry's got a good eye for talent. I really think you boys got y'all stuff figured out. Kaden, if he's looked at you and seen something to bring you out here, out east every single other weekend, flying back in from Texas, you've got a lot of potential and opportunity, too. And I think you boys, hopefully, y'all got a lot waiting for us this weekend up in Franklin County.
I hope
I'm going to be
so.
rooting for y'all, of
Yeah,
course.
we are.
I hope
and,
so.
And Kaden, if you can pull off a victory this weekend, we're going to be one hell of a party here at Franklin County Speedway. I promise you that. 'Cause we'll stick
yeah.
around.
Drink
we'll
cold
stick,
ones.
we will
Yeah.
stick around and burn that place down if you end up
There we
winning.
go.
We're gonna have to.
That's
We're gonna
right.
have to open that mason jar.
We tell Bobby and Caden all the time they finish 1-2. They just got to figure out how they want to
Yeah,
do it.
just
We
shut the
don't.
place
yeah,
down.
That's
Shut the
right.
place down.
They
Nobody's getting
discussed
out of the
that part.
track.
Yeah, that needs to be every race. But I'm super glad that we were able to come on the show. That
Yeah, we
it's
appreciate
been-
it.
appreciate
This
it,
has
man.
been a fun time.
It's
We're
been
going to
great.
do it again.
I hope
I
so.
like
I'd
y'all
love
boys.
to. I'd love to.
I like y'all boys.
We just need to
we-
get Bobby Mack over here in the other seat. We're going to have some more stories.
I think that's imperative. I think that's what we need to do. We're going
And we
to get
gotta-
on Barry to make that happen.
We got to do it back here at the cabin too. I mean,
Yeah.
the cabin
So-
and the
see,
barbecue.
sounds-
It's up to Simon
I mean, come on.
with the cannon. Heck
Hey, we're
yeah.
gonna need 2 more mics actually because we need Simon on another mic.
If you want to get Simon on here, this show's an
Hey.
hour and 52 minutes. If you're going to get Simon on here, plan on staying here double.
Hey,
Okay.
Time.
I'm
hey
fine with
Barry,
that.
we're gonna need
We
a
will
half day
go.
off
Man,
from work so we can.
I've had a blast. So
Yeah, it's been
anytime.
We've
Yeah.
had an absolute blast. Jeff, I know boating.
Yeah, I gotta get out here.
You got to get to
They're
racing on your
messaging me.
iRacing nonsense.
great. If you need to leave, we'll keep on going. We got another hour left.
Y'all keep on going while I'm packing stuff up because we're gonna release this show tonight because I want everybody to show up here this weekend to the Autos by Nelson 225. They're gonna be racing the Cars Tour and there's another super late model maybe or
Pro late model.
Pro late model. There's gonna be a couple good races going on. We are gonna be set up in turn 2, so come find us. We're gonna do the show early if we can, and then around 12 when the cars start practicing, we're gonna go up there behind the stands in turn 2. We're gonna have a setup up there, do a little bit of tailgating. Hopefully, Isaiah, James, Simon, maybe Amos, a bunch of us are gonna show up
Simon
there.
said he's coming out. We got him coming.
At least, yeah, I think Simon's gonna be up there now after tonight. So, for everybody that hears this, come up there, support your local racetracks, and support these guys right here. I mean, we're talking about 30 minutes down the road in Martinsville. These boys go to school there. They support this local area. They live in this area now.
Buy a car from Barry.
Make it a good. And by speaking of which, I wish you'd been here tonight. I need to talk to him about trading in our vehicle for a van since I got a second.
He'll
kid
hook you
now.
up.
So hopefully hook us up and just make plans
You
this
had to
weekend.
holler
Come
everybody
see
here.
these boys.
Come on out.
And
I
it's
know
my-
Caden's going to be running on Saturdays and Sundays. He already has ran on a Saturday here recently. He's got a ton of opportunity. Come here and
Yeah.
be able to tell your kids and your friends you caught this kid race before he got like Kyle Busch big. You know what I
time.
mean?
Yeah, that's
and when
right.
he does get Kyle Busch big, I want him to still come to this wood shop
And drink
and be
cold
as
ones.
humble as he is today
Heck
and still hang out with us.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell us now you're going to come back. So we got your
Yeah,
word on
yeah.
that.
We'll hold him to it.
I just realized why he's not drinking cold ones. He's only 18.
Yeah, right.
Ain't that
Come
something?
back when you're 21.
Absolutely.
But
So-
as much as everybody, brags on everything, all the drivers and stuff, their car store, though, we have to brag on them just as much. Just they've been excellent to us.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
top notch, man. I mean, and you guys will see it this weekend at Franklin County. Just
Yep.
there's nothing better going on right now in late model stock racing. What Jack and Cheely and all those people over there are doing right now is just phenomenal. And Gary, I mean, all from the top to the bottom, every single one of those people are phenomenal. They're 100%.
I'm super excited.
Yep.
I mean, they even got the best flagman out right now. You know, I'm telling you, the
Oh,
whole
hold
9
on now,
yards,
hold
man.
on.
JB's on
JB Cole, hold
Take
on.
offense.
hold on. That's our buddy right there. That's the best flagman in the business right there. So if we're gonna get in that,
There's not really
Well,
a
how'd you-
flag stand at Callaway or Franklin County.
it's basically a death.
We have a
trap.
nice garden light for the caution. So.
Might have to
be
talk to
great.
Barry about getting us another one down
Yeah,
there for
well,
the
it'd
weekend.
be great to see him line on the spotter for 125 flags.
He did it. He did it 2 years ago.
Yeah, he did. He did.
All right,
All right, so
think that's
I would like to do a special thanks to
Buddy's Barbecue.
Buddy's Barbecue for the food tonight. Hey, Buddy,
So
just
good.
just so you know that these
We're coming
boys do
by to see you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
These boys like
I'm
it.
just saying this barbecue is better than some of the Texas, and that's hard to beat.
No.
Oh,
That's a whole nother.
We might need a
podcast.
Buddy's Barbecue logo on the 12 car this weekend for that shout out.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to. We'll let Buddy know about this. He certainly appreciates it.
We
But,
need food for Friday at the racetrack, just saying.
And a whole gallon of the baked beans.
yes.
And the
Collard
greens.
greens too,
The
throw
green-
them in
oh,
there.
my
Oh,
Lord.
man,
Yeah,
I'm
greens.
telling you.
And the greens.
So for Buddy's Barbecue, catch him in here in Rocky Mount. For the
Fair
Holwell Grice Band for the music, for the Jared Stout Band for the intermission music we had today, go catch them up middle of June. Motor Mile Speedway, they're going to be opening for Joe Nichols. You know what I'm talking about, Joe Nichols, the Coupe de Ville song.
Yeah.
Yeah, big deal. Come this weekend, Franklin County Speedway, the Cars Tour, DJ Jack, Jeff Cessna of the Cessna Airplane Fortune, Kaden Honeycutt, no relation to Chris Honeycutt.
Yeah.
Thank you all
guys.
so much for your time. Thank you for coming
Thank
up here
you.
today.
Yeah, it's a
Hopefully,
blast. Let's do it again.
hopefully we'll have
Yeah.
a big reason to celebrate on Saturday. Simon,
so.
once again, Simon Winch.
Thanks for the host.
Thank you for being a host once
Thank
again.
you, Simon.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
man.
I'm sober this time.
And if you haven't listened to our last show,
Hey, we're
with
coming back in
Simon,
July.
Give it a whirl, State of Appalachia. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you next time.